taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. We the ones they are. The ones they can't skip. Fighting for respect, it's a tough road ahead. But we pack that heart and we never dread. Late hits and big plays, we bring in the heat. Watch out for the G5, we can't be beat. From the MAC to the Sun Belt, we don't back down. In this football jungle, we wear the crown. All the doubt is sleeping, but we making noise. In the G5 Hive, we the realest boys. When the clock's ticking down, we the ones to believe. One play, one chance, we gon' make them achieve. From the sidelines to the end zone, hear that roar. In the G5 Hive, we always wantin' more. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. So raise your flags high, let them wave in the air. In the G5 Hive, we the squad that's rare. With heart and grit, we rewriting the script. In the world of college football, we the ones they can't skip. Yeah. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that rush. From Boise to App State, man, we never hush. Rocking the colors, yeah, we bleed that pride. Cinderella stories, watch our dreams collide. Late nights, bright lights, we grind every play. Underrated talent, we gon' make them say, who's that team when we come to town? Representing for the schools that wear the crown. We in the G5 Hive, buzzing loud, we thrive. Underdogs rising up, taking shots, we alive. From the mountains to the coast, we gon' bring that fire. In the heart of college football, we the ones they admire. Yo, it's game day, stadium packed, feel that.
Here's Navarro on the run. Navarro's going to keep it. Navarro for 6! Touchdown, Bobcat!
I can feel I had a hard time staying in my own lane.
Oh my goodness! Brett Murdoch! Pick 6! Harvath inside the 30, the 20. Blake Harvath will score! And Mendoza takes a big hit. He never saw it coming. Trey White got in there. There's his man, Rucker. And nobody's going to catch him. Goodbye. Intercepted. Skipper, touchdown!
Telly again, why not? A step forward and make it 2 for Telly!
Quarterback keeper showing off the speed, steps on the gas, untouched!
The G5 Hive. All G5, all the time.
Welcome to the G5 Hive Live, where we bring you the G5 college football coverage you love each and every week. I am Justice. I am solo right now. My co-host Luke will be joining us shortly. But thank you guys for all tuning in. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're watching us on X, please give us a follow, a like, and a retweet. And if you're listening in podcast form, please rate and review. Well, the season is quickly dissolving. We're week 4, so a third of the regular season is gone by, and it's just going by way too fast, it seems like. But tonight we'll bring you up to speed on all the news around the G5, review what went down in week 4, and then we'll set you guys up for success with our week 5 previews. We'll close things out with our 2020 players, which are the top players at each position group in the G5. And then at the very end, for those folks that play college fantasy football, we'll bring you our waiver wire honey. But before we get to all that, something kind of, bigger than football itself happened recently, and we just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge it and express our thoughts and prayers are with Sean Clark's wife, kids, and family, and sorry for their loss, sorry for the football world's loss, his family's loss, and all those that have been impacted by the loss of Sean Clark. It's never a good thing. You saw many coaches today comment about it during their press conferences. I was at the Old Dominion press conference recording that earlier today, and Ricky Ronnie spoke about Coach Clark and what he meant to Coach Ronnie, and obviously expressed his thoughts, and his thoughts were with Sean's wife and kids and their family as well. And we saw many other coaches do the same thing. Last week, App State started a meal train for Coach Clark's family. This was before he had passed, and we retweeted that link earlier today. If you're interested in helping out with that with Coach Clark's family, please check out that link. It was tweeted out by App State. We retweeted that this afternoon. All right, let's get into some news and notes, which you guys need to know. Lots of injury news this week. But before we get to the injury news, I want to talk about some quarterback news. So last week we talked about the competition for Colorado State was opened up during the bye week. Quarterback competition was opened up between Braden Fowler Nicolosi, who had started the games, and Jackson Brousseau, and then Coach Norvell said that Braden Fowler Nicolosi would be the starter this week, but then he goes on to talk about how they were getting Jackson ready. And I think I mentioned last week that my thoughts were it's probably a really, really short leash, and if things don't go well, maybe we're going to see Jackson, and we'll get to the actual game, but that is what happened. We saw Jackson Brousseau, and then it was announced today that Jackson Brousseau will be the starting quarterback this coming their next game for the Colorado State Rams. Additional quarterback news. We talked about this many weeks ago when TJ Finley became eligible for Georgia State. And according to Ben Moore, the publisher of Panther Talk over there on 24/7 Sports, he covers the Georgia State Panthers. From his opinion, I haven't seen like this come out from Coach McGee or anything, but in his opinion, like the quarterback competition should be over. The TJ Finley experiment should be over. And that it was pretty clear to him that Cameron Brown should be the Georgia State starter moving forward. Cameron Brown was a transfer from Texas Tech most recently, and he started a couple games this year for Georgia State as well. This past week, UAB played Tennessee. We'll get to the game. A lot of not so good things happened for UAB in the game. But before the game, Blazers star wide receiver Corey Milner, he did not travel with the team for the game against Tennessee. He was suspended, I guess, for the game for a violation of team rules. It was conduct detrimental to the team. No words. I haven't heard anything like, well, when to expect him back. I believe UAB is on a bye this coming week. So it'd be 2 weeks, I guess, maybe before we might hear something else. But in his absence, Brandon Hawkins Jr., he was kind of the main beneficiary. He stepped into that role vacated by the absence of Corey Milner. So stay tuned to see what's going on with Milner moving forward. And to some actual injury news now. Spencer Danielson, Boise State head coach, mentioned today that quarterback Maddox Madsen is banged up, but the plan is for him to play versus App State this week. He also talked about running back Sire Gaines. We'll get to our players of the week. Dylan Riley had a huge monster week for Boise State this week, and you may have noticed Sire Gaines did not get a lot of run in the game. Well, Sire did not practice until Thursday of last week because of a minor injury, and that kind of limited his usage versus Air Force. But according to Coach Danielson today, Sire Gaines is fully healthy, practicing this week fully, and he should be a full go as they head into the matchup with App State this coming Saturday. Louisiana, and they've already suffered a lot on the injury front with Walker Howard being out. They've lost some offensive linemen. Well, the news just got worse today. They've lost two more offensive linemen, tackles Jamarian Gooch and George Jackson. They're both likely out for the season. And so since the season began, that's 4 of their top 5 offensive tackles for the Raging Cajuns that are gone. And so not good. They haven't had a good season so far, and the hits just keep coming. And like I said, they just keep coming. Their star wide receiver, Shelton Sampson, is supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury. So just not good news for the Raging Cajuns in 2025. Last week, Bowling Green linebacker Dorian Pringle was my defensive player of the week in week 3. However, he did not play this past week in week 4. Stay tuned to kind of see what his status is moving forward. We talked about the Tulsa quarterback situation and that Kirk Francis, had a concussion in week 3. Well, Kirk was not available in week 4, so Baylor Hayes once again got the start for Tulsa at quarterback while Kirk Francis is still recovering from his concussion. It was announced last week that UConn running back Mel Brown is out for a while with a broken clavicle. I believe they said 6 weeks on that. Memphis offensive lineman Chris Adams had to be helped off the field versus Arkansas, but he was able to return later in the game. Liberty quarterback Ethan Vasco took a sack at the end of the half, kind of drove his shoulder into the ground. He did not, as like I think it was the last play of the first half or very close to it. He did not return in the second half. He was on the sidelines in a sling. In his absence, Michael Merdinger and Ethan Hawk kind of took over. They rotated. I will talk about that more when we get to the Liberty versus JMU game. Florida International cornerback Brian Blades II was out for this week's game. Big matchup versus Delaware with a foot injury. We'll see what his status is moving forward. If he's not able to go or out for an extended period, that's a big blow for Florida International, who kind of was off to a hot start. But Brian Blades is definitely their best cornerback, one of the best cornerbacks in all of the G5. So he's going to be out for an extended period. That's going to be a big blow for the Panthers secondary. Eastern Michigan offensive lineman Mickey Ruwalinski, he was questionable heading into week 4. He was out, did not play weeks 1 through 3. He only played 9 snaps versus Louisiana. So, that's just kind of something to monitor. Eastern Michigan has not, looked great. They did get the win this week against Louisiana. But Mickey Ruwalinski, easily their best offensive lineman. He was a preseason All-MAC on our All-MAC team So getting him back will be huge for that offensive line. Sticking with Eastern Michigan, prior to the game, wide receiver Terry Lockett Jr. was listed as questionable in week 4, but he was able to play the whole game. So we're not really sure what was going on with him. Hopefully he will be able to make it back or continue whatever that was. It must have not been too big a deal, but it does make you wonder why he was listed questionable. Charlotte quarterback Connor Harrell was knocked out of the game versus Rice with a knee injury on a hit. And he did not return in that game. Grayson Loftus kind of took over after that. Miami, Ohio quarterback DeQuan Finn took a hit to the lower body. He went to the medical tent in the second quarter and did not return. Henry Hessen took over at quarterback for DeQuan Finn. Some Texas State news. Wide receiver Chris Don Jr. and offensive lineman Talik Lockett did not play this past week. They were announced out just before game time. I don't think it was anything serious. I don't know that, but given their opponent, I believe it was Nichols who they played, so it wasn't like they were playing they're playing an FCS opponent, and so my guess is these guys are just banged up and they wanted to give them some rest. Rice wide receiver Landon ran some goals. He left the game versus Charlotte. He was later seen on the sideline with crutches and a brace on his right leg. Did not look good for Landon. Ran some goals. Also, Rice quarterback Chase Jenkins. He rolled his ankle in week 4. He missed a few plays in the game in the game against Charlotte. Drew DeVilliers came in for him, and then but it was only for a few plays, and he was able to return back in the game and kind of finish that game out. Wyoming left tackle Nate Geiger. He has an injury to the same left knee where he tore the ACL and meniscus last year. Jay Sauvel said a full update will come next week, but he assumes that he will be out for a period of time. Troy offensive lineman Paul Bowling had to limp off the field versus Buffalo, and Paul's a freshman, really a good freshman offensive lineman. I believe he plays center for Troy, someone that has kind of blew their doors off in fall practice and was able to make the starting lineup on that offensive line. But he only missed one snap. He was able to return back to the game. Ohio wide receiver Max Redart, he was injured in the first half. He went over to the medical tent, but then he had to be carted from the medical tent back to the locker room. Fresno State offensive lineman Braden Walton had to be carted off the field versus Hawaii after getting his leg rolled up on. And that was very close to the end of the first half. He did not return in the second half. And then finally, Delaware wide receiver Kyrie Duplessis, he got shaken up versus Florida International. He had to leave, but he was able to return in the game, which is kind of huge for Delaware. And that's going to do it for our news and notes this week. And welcome, Luke. What's going on, man?
Oh, we did it. We did it. We did it. Those who are just tuning in, like myself, I've struggled to put 2 children to sleep. It was rough. It was a rough go, but I'm here now. I'm ready to talk some football. I got to catch the last half there of that injury news. Where should I start? Should we start with
players of the week,
G5 Hive Players of the week?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Let's get started with, let's see here. My offensive player of the week for week 4, Boise State running back Dylan Riley. Dylan had a performance of a lifetime as he scored 5 touchdowns. Dylan ran for 171 yards and 4 touchdowns as he added 2 receptions for 84 yards and a TD via the air. Boise needed all 5 of those touchdowns as the Broncos got a Mountain West victory over Air Force 49-37. Congrats, Dylan.
My defensive player of the week for week 4, Colby Fields, linebacker from Louisiana Tech. Colby had 9 tackles, 1 solo, had a big pick 6. I think it was a 46-yard interception to kind of seal the deal for the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs in week 4 and that big win over Southern Miss. Congratulations, Colby. All right, my week 4 offensive player of the week, Robert Henry Jr. If you're not familiar, Robert's had a huge week, a huge season. He's been a big part of why UTSA has won the games they have won. He's just had a monster year, week in and week out, regardless of the opponent. And this week was no different. Robert led the UTSA Roadrunners to a big victory over Colorado State in week 4. He had 144 yards and a touchdown on the ground, while adding another 76 yards and a touchdown in the air to lead the Roadrunners to that victory over Colorado State in week 4. Congratulations, Robert.
My defensive player of the week for week 4 is Western Kentucky safety Jalen Lewis. Jalen recorded 5 tackles, 4 of which were solo. He also had 2 timely turnovers that kept the game close, an interception and a fumble recovery. Personally, I'm not so sure WKU wins this week 4 battle over Nevada without those turnovers. Kept it close. Congrats, Jalen. Our G5 Hive freshman offensive player of the week for week 4 is none other than North Texas running back Caleb Hawkins. Caleb ran for 99 yards and 4 touchdowns while adding 14 yards through the air to help the Mean Green defeat Army and get off to a 1-0 start in the American.
Our G5 Hive freshman defensive player of the week is Louisiana Raging Cajuns cornerback Brent Gordon Jr. Brent had 10 tackles, 5 of which were solo, to lead that Raging Cajun defense in week 4. Congratulations, Brent.
All right. I mean, you're already off and running. I'm just showing up. I need to put my seatbelt on, but we need to get right into things as there are so many great games in the G5. But first, let's get into our rankings. You did a little bit of the looking at the G5 and the AP top 25.
Yeah. Yep. So no G5 in the top 25 poll this week. We have some in the receiving votes category. And you look at that, it was South Florida was number 29 with 77 votes. That's down from a week ago where they had 88 votes. Memphis comes in at number 31 with 23 votes. UNLV at number 34 with 3 votes. And North Texas would come in at number 33 with 2 votes. Now let's get to what everyone's here for, and that's our G5 Hive top 25 poll after week 4. For those not listening or not watching, I guess, on YouTube or X, I'll run it down for you. But still at number 1 for us is the South Florida Bulls. Coming in at number 2 after their big win for Memphis. Big win over Arkansas was Memphis at number 2. Number 3, the Tulane Green Wave. Number 4, Navy. Number 5, Ohio. Number 6, Old Dominion. Number 7, Texas State. Number 8, James Madison. Number 9, Boise State. Number 10, UNLV. Number 11, North Texas. Number 12, Toledo. Coming in at 13, the Bulldogs from Fresno State, followed by the Bulldogs of Louisiana Tech there at number 14. Number 15, the Blue Hens, the Fighting Blue Hens from Delaware. First year in the FBS, first year in Conference USA. Coming in number 16, making their debut on our votes this week in the top 25, the Utah State Aggies coming in at number 16. Number 17, the Pirates from East Carolina. 18, the Yukon Huskies. 19, the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. 20, those Roadrunners from UTSA. 21, making their debut as well in our top 25 votes, the San Diego State Aztecs coming off a big win over Cal. Number 22, the Black Knights of Army. Number 23, the Chippewas from Central Michigan. Number 24, the New Mexico Lobos. And rounding out our top 25 is the Jacksonville State Gamecocks. So we are voters in the Hero Sports G5 Top 25 Media Poll. They have a smattering of other voters. We're lucky enough to be one of those. I'll compare our results to theirs, to the consensus poll. If you want to see the full consensus poll, we retweeted that out earlier today when it came out. I don't know, it was around 5 p.m. or so, 5 p.m. Eastern. But the biggest difference between our poll and the Hero Sports consensus poll. So first we'll look at who was ranked in the consensus, but that we did not have ranked. And that was 2 teams. In the consensus poll, Rice is ranked number 18, and they would have came in at number 26 for us. So this week, Luke, normally we kind of try and do it together. This week, Luke and I did it a little bit different in that we each made our own top 25 and kind of averaged it. And then where there was a tie, we used a tiebreaker with the ESPN FPI index. And so in this case, I had Jacksonville State number 25. Luke had Rice number 25. Jacksonville State's higher in the ESPN FPI, and so that's who got the nod on our official ballot. So for us, Rice would have came in at 26th. And then the other team that is ranked in the consensus that is not ranked in our poll is the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. They're ranked number 23. Obviously, if there's 2 that are ranked there that we don't have, there's 2 in our poll that aren't in the consensus. And those 2 teams are Central Michigan, who we have ranked 23rd, and Jacksonville State, who is ranked 25th. And they were both in the receiving votes category. If my memory serves me correct, I think Jacksonville State was number 26. So, like, you know, we were kind of right there with Rice and Jacksonville State in terms of the consensus. Some of the biggest differences between folks that are ranked in both polls or teams that are ranked in both polls. We are lower on probably the biggest. Well, there's 2 where we're 5 spots lower than the consensus. And one of them has been this way since like the preseason poll, and that's UNLV. The consensus has UNLV at number 5. We have them at number 10. And I don't want to speak for Luke, but I'm hesitant to even put them number 10. They're 4-0. That's great. But they really haven't played anybody that's great. And, man, I still look at that first game against Idaho State where, in my opinion, they should have lost. And I don't know, they've won games, but, again, like they're not – I don't think they're a top 10 team, but that's kind of where we have them right now. I'm very hesitant to put them there. But the consensus likes them way more than we do. They have them in the top 5. I'm not there yet with UNLV.
I'm okay with UNLV here. At some point, you know, Justice, you're saying like, hey, like I don't feel great about that. They haven't had great wins. You can only play the people in front of you, and if you win, you win. But it just hasn't looked good. They are winning. No. It hasn't looked good visually. Big scare. Like the first half in this one, they just got, you know, probably 2. It's a little bit of kickoff and coming from Las Vegas to Ohio. Big time change. You got 3 hours, I believe, in that time change. So that's probably a little bit to it. But they are winning. It's just not looking pretty. I feel like they're right around there. Like if you want to put North Texas ahead of them, I feel like North Texas's defense is playing better
who
than
I would
UNLV.
Probably rank 10th.
Like I would be okay with that. Like honestly, somewhat like UNLV and Toledo right now to me are kind of similar in that like they're winning game. I mean, Grant Toledo's lost games, but like it's not visually looking well. And where Toledo should have lost, they did lose. Like they didn't get lucky and were able to pull one out against Western Michigan.
Yep. So you know, we're lower on those 2 than the consensus, but there's 3 teams that we're higher on the consensus, and we've been higher on them. 2 of them we've been higher on since the preseason poll, and then one of them we had ranked last week, and the consensus poll did not have ranked. But the first 2 shouldn't really be a surprise if you're tuning in each and every week. The Ohio Bobcats, we have them ranked at number 5. The consensus just doesn't like them like we do. They have them ranked at number 11. So really, they're kind of like, it's like they're treating Ohio like we're treating UNLV and vice versa. And I feel like if Ohio and UNLV played a game, I like there's no doubt in my mind who wins that game, and that would be Ohio. But nonetheless, the other team, the team that we had ranked in our preseason top 25, but was not ranked in the consensus poll, and that's Old Dominion. We have them 6. The consensus has them 12. So just like Ohio, we're 6 spots higher than consensus. And then the final team, which we ranked last week, the consensus did not rank last week, but they did rank them this week, but we moved them up because we already had them ranked, and that's Delaware. We had them this week. We have them 15 in the consensus poll. They are 21, so 6 spots difference between all 3 of those teams. I feel pretty good like about those ones, and I'm really not upset about the ones we're lower than. We talked about UNLV. The other team that I didn't mention that we are lower than, it's also 5 spots, is Western Kentucky. We have them 19. Consensus has them 14. So again, same thing, 5 spots. Other than week 0, man, they have not looked good. Like what's happened to that offense, right? Like, they won this week, but like it wasn't pretty. And I just don't know. Like Conference USA, like preseason, we were talking about like, okay, like who's going to step up after Liberty and Western Kentucky, and like and it's kind of like they're not even. I personally don't think. Well, Liberty's definitely not a top team, and I don't think Western Kentucky is either.
So something in the game this week, and I never really pay attention to it because I'm always like switching through different games to capture as much information to bring it to our show and to educate our listeners the best I can. But the game against Nevada was playing 2 high safeties. So if you're more familiar with watching NFL, it's like the Patrick Mahomes treatment where they're like the defense is just making like they're kind of giving you the run. And that's what it was. It was like I would have to break down and see what the pass to run ratio was, but they were running it a lot more, and then they weren't really giving up high passes or long passes. They were like, you got to have this intermediate passing game. It was just 2 high safety the whole time. They might have 1 safety at a couple points, and that's where they were taking their shots, but they weren't always connecting. So that was what I noticed.
Yeah, it's it'll be interesting to see what happens in Conference USA. I mean, I feel like it's pretty wide open. I mean, like if I had to pick a team today, like I'd probably pick Louisiana Tech. They definitely have the best defense. If they can get the offensive side of things figured out, I think they got a good shot at winning Conference USA. And then Delaware offensively has looked phenomenal. Week in and week out. And so they're really a surprise team for me because I wasn't high on Delaware coming into the year, but man, they've that offense has really shown something here in year 1 in the FBS, and they can score points with just about anybody. I feel like the defense might not be the best, but offensively they've looked great. This week they kind of shut Florida International down. They had a shootout 2 weeks ago against UConn, and UConn's a pretty good team. They came out on top, and then this week they just thoroughly dominated Florida International. But we'll get to that in a minute. Yeah,
WKU, that was 50-50. It was 32 pass to 31 rush, I think it was, or 33 pass to 32 rush. But in terms of Delaware, something that people might not remember, their quarterback that we thought that they were going to have coming into the season went something pro in something other than football. He decided to be done with football, and that it was like I'm trying to remember who's the other quarterback there was with Nick Minicucci, but they were kind of rotating them in years past because their previous quarterback would get hurt, and he's just carried the team this year. Honestly, if you were to put it up statistically to all of the FBS, he's got to be honestly, whatever there is, 136, 138 total football teams in college. I bet you he's top 20. He's top 20 right now.
Like, depending on what
He
you
might be in
use,
top
like
10.
he's probably top 5 in a lot of the stats.
Yeah. He's crushing it. He's having a great year. Enjoy the bye.
That's right. Well, yeah, we talked a little bit about week 4, but you're ready to jump in to what happened in week 4?
Let's do it.
All right. So the first game is a Friday G5 versus P4 game. And the G5 got the win, man. We talked about this last week. I talked about if Flores was the QB for Oklahoma State, Tulsa had a real shot at winning the game. And Tulsa wins the game, and like it should have been worse. Really, the only reason this game was kind of close was because Tulsa kept settling for field goals. They scored on their first 4 drives. They had 1 touchdown, 3 field goals. Their 5th drive right before the half kind of ran out of time, ran out of the clock to score. Then their 6th drive, they had a field goal. So really, like, you know, their first 5 out of their first 6, we don't even include that one, like, because time ran out. Their first full drives, or 5 full drives, they scored. Unfortunately, 4 of them were field goals. Otherwise, this game would have been over early. I got really nervous as I was watching this game because I was like, oh my gosh, like they're going to lose. Like in the last, you know, in the 4th quarter, Oklahoma State, you know, had a couple big plays there with the Rodney Fields running the ball. And I was like, oh man, like this is going to be bad. Like Tulsa was the better team. They deserved to win the game, and they're going to lose because they had to settle for so many field goals early on. Tulsa really dominated Oklahoma State in the lines. That kind of surprised me a little bit. Both the offensive line and defensive line. I mean, they were opening up some massive holes for Dominic Richardson. And I was like, yeah, Brett, I agree with you, man. I was super impressed with Tulsa. Oklahoma State's not good. I get that, but they're still a P4 team. Tulsa, you know, was not good last year. They're kind of rebuilding. But man, like Tulsa, in my opinion, Tulsa really dominated this game. Rodney Fields is really the only reason Oklahoma State even had an opportunity to even win. Now, Dominic Richardson, like I said, played phenomenal. He did have a fumble. And that kind of, even though it didn't necessarily lead to Oklahoma State's score at that time, it did kind of seem to kill some momentum that Tulsa had going on. Like I said, Zane Flores is bad. He is really bad. Rodney Fields is really the only bright spot for the Cowboys. There was a point where I guess they were driving to try to tie the game up for the final touchdown, and Flores, like Rodney Fields, was wide open. It was a 4th down play, and like Flores just like missed him really badly, and that was it. But had he made that completion, Fields would have easily gotten a 1st down, and who knows, Oklahoma State could have gone on to score and sent the game into overtime. Tulsa got the ball back after that. They drove it, and then they missed the 26-yard field goal that would have really iced the game. Unfortunately, you could have put Tulsa up by 10, but they were able to hang on there at the end and get the win. The Hail Mary did not connect for Oklahoma State, and I don't know. I was glad to see it. Like I said, Tulsa was definitely the better team. They deserved the win. And I think if you look at like the advanced metrics, like Tulsa should have really won the game. But they had to settle for so many field goals, and it almost cost them the game actually. So glad to see Tulsa get that big win, and they can claim the Oklahoma champ. They don't play the Sooners this year, but they can, I guess, quasi claim the champions of Oklahoma in 2025. Anything you want to add, Luke?
Nope.
All right.
I'll move over to the Saturday G5 versus P4 games, and we had a barn burner. We have Arkansas at Memphis. Memphis wins this one 32-31. Bad start for Memphis. You got Tyan Rohan Jones. I believe he's either from Canada or at least speaks a lot of French. the broadcast was, they have a whole little segment there about they're talking French, but no one covered him. He's wide open for a 64-yard touchdown catch. Greg DeRosier, he returns. Memphis settles for a field goal on the first drive. They try an onside kick and Arkansas recovers, but the Memphis defense is able to hold them. Arkansas got lots of pressure on Brennan Lewis. Memphis intercepted Taylor Green. Brennan Lewis has a 4-yard touchdown run there in the corner of the right to go up 10-7. Then you have a big Sutton run. He has a 64-yard touchdown run. Arkansas marches right back down the field, but Michael Washington fumbles inside the 10. So that big Lucky Sutton, not Lucky Sutton, the big Sutton touchdown puts them up 32-31. And like I said, Arkansas just moving the ball down the field and then, get right inside the 10. Mike Washington fumbles. Memphis recovers. Memphis holds on for the W.
Yeah, man, it was a good game. I watched the majority of it. I didn't see the very end, but like when Memphis tried that onside kick so early, I'm like, oh man, like I don't know. To me, like when I see things like that, like tells me like they don't think they can win this game without doing things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so that concerned me. I was like, oh no, like does the coaching staff not think they really kind of have a shot to win the game because they're trying an onside kick so early? But it ended up working out. I mean, I think for me, like the big takeaway of the game was like Sutton Smith, right? Like we've talked about him and our waiver. He's not on the waiver wire this week. He's not under 30%, but we've talked about the last 2 weeks and like, should you be concerned when Greg DeRosier Jr. returns or not? And I think like, in my opinion, like Sutton Smith solidified, he's the man for Memphis Tigers. Still expect to see Greg DeRosier Jr. Involved, right? He's electric, but I think Sutton Smith has established himself as the top dog in that Memphis offense at running back. All right, this game was not much of a game. Tennessee at UAB. Tennessee wins it 56-24. Tennessee scored 6 touchdowns on their first 7 possessions in the first half. It was 42-7 at halftime. And then, man, like Sherrod Bryant. Luke and I were talking about this earlier. So when we did the UAB Worker Bee series, I don't know when that was, June, July, whatever. We talked about Sherrod Bryant. And we have a clip where we were talking about Sherrod, and both on Instagram and on YouTube today, we got comments about Sherrod Bryant because of what he did in this game. If you happen to miss it, it was very Bush League. He was a total cheap shot. He took on the Tennessee kicker, and it was announced. I don't know. I retweeted it this evening. I don't know when it was actually announced. Sometime today. But safety Sherrod Bryant for UAB, he's been suspended for the next game because of what he did, because of that cheap shot on the Tennessee kicker. Man, that was not good, man. Like it's bad enough. Like UAB's not like defense is horrible. One of the worst defenses in all the G5, and then you got one of your supposedly better players on defense. Total Bush League move. It's not a good look. Not a good look. Not a good look for the team. Not a good look for Trent Dilfer. That Trent Dilfer coach's seat's got to be like.
Well, did you see the other thing that he was catching slack for? He's on the sideline taking a video of being in the stadium. I don't know what exactly he was doing, but at least that's what it looks like from the outside. It was like, what is going on? Eric Froton in the chat. The Hive is buzzing. You bet, Eric. You bet.
It's always buzzing. Every Monday night we're buzzing, buddy. We're buzzing. All right, let's move over to Clint's. What Clint wants to hear about.
The first quarter. We're tied at 7 after 1. All right, Clint. Earmuffs for the rest of this. Once Oregon scored their first touchdown in the third, It put them up 28-7. They cruise. We don't need to talk about it any further. Clint's here. We want him to stay for the entire time.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't much of a game, but was it? With the Hankerson touchdown, would that put them up 7-0, or were they already down when he got that touchdown? I didn't watch the game.
I'm trying to remember, and I don't recall off the top of my head.
Gotcha. Yeah, it wasn't. But anyway, I think was it 14-7 maybe in the first quarter, something like that, and then all downhill after that. All right, going over to another big G5 versus P4 matchup, and that was the Tulane Green Wave versus the Ole Miss Rebels. Luke, you want to take it?
Sure. So I wish Tulane would have brought their big boy pants for this game. Wasn't great. Tulane, yards in the first half, 107 for Tulane and 313 for Ole Miss. It's 23-3 at the half in favor of Ole Miss. They end up winning 45-10. Tulane moved the ball better in the third, but they're turned away on a 4th and goal from the 5 and a 4th and 1 from the 39. Start of the fourth quarter, Brendan Sullivan is in for Retleff. Scores 31-3 at that point. He comes in and he doesn't do much better. Just Tulane really struggled in this one. Graphics are going to stay the same as I move into the next one until Justice gets back here. We've got Washington at Washington State. Washington wins 59-24. Washington scores on all of their first half possessions, 3 touchdowns, 1 field goal. It's 24-10. Washington State possesses the ball 2 times in the third quarter to Washington's 1. They score a touchdown on both, so they inch closer. They're down 31-24 after 3. Now, quarter 4 is where things get a little out of hand. Washington scores a touchdown, followed by a Washington State interception that Washington returns for a 47-yard touchdown. And then the first play of their next possession, Eckhouse fumbles, which Washington scores a touchdown pretty quick. It's 52-24. They tack on another touchdown at the end of the game. They win, like I said, 59-24. Moving over to the BYU at ECU. BYU wins this one 34-13. The first half closed, and the turning point was when ECU muffed a punt with 56 seconds left in the first half. They're at their own 1. Hauser throws an INT, and it's returned 4 yards for a touchdown. It's now 13-3 at the half. That muff punt is just, you're hoping to get some yards or whatnot, but then you're down at the 1. Then you throw this INT. BYU has a 2-play touchdown drive, 2, and they're now up 20-3. ECU gets a field goal in the third, and BYU eats up 5 minutes and scores a touchdown in the fourth to go up 27-6. ECU answers with a touchdown of their own, but BYU ices it with a 41-yard LJ Martin touchdown. Justice,
Yeah.
We are back.
Yeah, man. Yeah, sorry, had to run real quick. Yeah, that ECU game, man. Like I thought ECU might be able to pull off the upset, but unfortunately, no dice there, man. Like, so they couldn't pull it off. But I mean, I think they played BYU tough. I think a lot of folks expected ECU might pull off that upset or at least cover the spread, but they weren't really able to do either thing. But yeah, maybe it'll give ECU some extra mojo, some momentum as they head into American play. All right, I think that's going to do it for the G5 versus P4 games. Oh no, take that back. Well, we got one more, and that is Cal versus San Diego State. Late night game Saturday. I stayed up and watched it, and man, what a absolutely dominant performance by San Diego State. Man, that defense played phenomenal. One of the best defensive performances I think we've seen so far this year. They blanked Cal. They beat them 35-0. Jordan Napier looked amazing in the game. Lucky Sutton, man, like all the talk I feel like before this game was on the Cal freshman quarterback Jerron Kiava Sagapulutele, and he got yanked. Now the game was out of hand when it happened, but they inserted Devin Brown. Yeah, man, like he threw some picks, and Trey White got his first sack of the 2025 season. So maybe that'll get Trey White back on track. He was one of the top sack producers a year ago in all of college football. I think if Mike Green hadn't done what he'd done last year, I think more folks would have been talking about what Trey White did at San Diego State in 2024. So hopefully getting that sack here in week 4, his first sack, will give him some momentum to get back on track and be able to produce sacks like he did in 2024. But yeah, dominant performance by San Diego State. Sean Lewis, Cal was undefeated up until that game, and San Diego State stomped the mud hole in them. And good to see another big win for the G5 against the P4. All right, that's going to do it for the G5 versus P4 matchups. Next up, we start off with some midweek action. Last week, G5 versus G5. We got Rice at Charlotte. American Conference game. Rice wins this game 28-17. This was really my first time getting like a real solid look at both of these teams in the 2025 season. And Rice, man, I was really interested to kind of see what this triple option offense looked like, and it's a lot of get 3 and 4 yards, 5 yards at a time. But when they need a big play, man, that guy is Quentin Jackson. He's small, but man, he is fast. He is quick. He's a dynamic playmaker for this team. Like I said, the offense was very methodical, I felt like, for the most part, except when they would get Jackson involved. And when they would get Quentin Jackson involved, he'd make a big run here and there. Dalen Alexander had a big play too. He's kind of the bigger of the backs, the thumper, if you will, kind of between the tackles and the goal line guy. But he had a big play in the game, a long run. As I mentioned earlier, Connor Harrell got knocked out of the game. He was limping back to the locker room, did not return. Grayson Loftus was the quarterback at that point. And then Ty Morris, he had a pretty vicious sack on Grayson Loftus. It caused a fumble. That fumble was recovered by Rice near the end of the third quarter. And that was a huge play. Ty Morris is a great linebacker for Rice. But that's a huge play because Charlotte was driving. Kind of felt like, maybe Charlotte was a score there. Maybe they had a real shot in the game. So that was a big momentum shift when Ty Morris got that sack, caused that fumble that Rice recovered. Rice was up 21-9 at that point. That particular drive, Chase Jenkins was knocked out. That was kind of in the beginning of the fourth quarter, I guess. As I mentioned, Drew DeVilliers, he came in for a few plays. Chase Jenkins was able to return. And then Dalen Alexander had that big run for his second touchdown to kind of ice the game. At that point, it gave them a 28-9 lead, and they would go on to win 29-7 for the Rice Owls. And I guess I didn't really know what to expect from either team. I don't think Charlotte's very good this year. And so I'm really not 100% sure what to expect from Rice. But They look good. They got it done. Again, it didn't look, the offense didn't look to me as good as like what I've seen from Navy or even Army this year. I haven't seen Air Force games. I can't really compare it to that. I mean, I think it's going to be fine, but as long as they can, keep getting the ball. Like Quentin Jackson's really their only, at least in this game, he was really the only dynamic playmaker they have. And so, like, if something were to happen to Quentin Jackson, I'd be real worried about this offense because I think like he adds a different dimension. It makes the offense a bigger threat than if he wasn't there. So anyway, all right, on to the next G5 versus G5 game, and these are Saturday games.
All right. So this one we have the UNLV versus Miami football game. This is where I talked about we were maybe struggling to wake up as UNLV gets to Miami of Ohio late. UNLV ends up pulling this one out 41-38. You got Calandria INT. Next play, Miami 39-yard touchdown pass to a wide open Cam Perry. You have Finn to Reynolds touchdown. Miami's up 14-0 pretty quick. Finn throws an INT for a touchdown on a 3rd and long. Now, this is where Finn gets hurt. So he's rolling out to the right. He kind of jumps in the air. He's kind of taken out low, kind of right around the knee-ish area. Lands on his shoulder, like head kind of just awkwardly. I would assume it's probably either a neck or a concussion. It didn't look too great, but it was kind of a weird play jumping up. Like I said, he throws an INT for a touchdown. It was about 5 yards short of the intended wide receiver. Momentum's going to UNLV as it's now 13-10, but Henry Henson comes in and marches the ball right down the field for Miami with a 41-yard pass to Cam Perry. And then a few plays later, a 22-yard pass to Kenny Tracy. Tracy, you might know, I guess brother, I think, is in the NFL with the Giants. Tracy, I'm trying to think of his first name.
Tyrone Tracy.
Tyrone Tracy. I believe they're brothers or cousins. I think they're brothers, so. But Tracy, he played really good in that first half. Let's move over to the third quarter. Jet Thomas, welcome to the game. He had 5 yards in the first half. He has a big run and a touchdown to cut the lead to 17-24. Third quarter was all UNLV. Momentum's with them. And then they hit a 23-yard field goal with 15 seconds left to win the game. UNLV just ekes it out. They celebrate with crumble cookies. A whole box of crumble cookies for each row. That's what UNLV got on their way home.
I probably watched most of the first half of this game, and man, like I feel like a broken record. I feel like I've said this in every UNLV game, but they've got to figure out ways to get Jet Thomas the ball more. Like,
dude, I just it was rough that first half. I'm like, what? Why aren't they giving them the ball? Like, it wasn't even like they had somebody else in. They just like weren't giving him the ball. It was like just throwing the ball. It was
yeah. Like I'm thinking, like, I'm sitting here, I'm like, come on, man! Like, he is the best offensive weapon you have, and like, and you're not getting him the ball.
Believe it or not, Justice, I am not a football coach. I do watch a lot of football. But I would say that there is
neither of us are, but yeah.
I would say that there are highly trained eyes watching film, watching game tape back. I don't know how no one has seen this yet through this part of the season. This just is baffling to me.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, this is probably the second most baffling thing to me. We'll get to the first eventually. But like, you got to get Jet Thomas the ball, man. Like, he's the best weapon you have. I mean, Anthony Calandria is fine. He's great. But man, like, could you imagine how much more dangerous he would be if they'd get, Jet Thomas 20-25 touches a game?
Can you imagine how much more dangerous Boise State would have been last year if they would have never given the ball to Ashton Genty. I mean, they would have just been so much better. Like, what are we doing? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
not saying that Jet Thomas is Ashton Genty, but like, it's not hard. Good at football when I get the ball. Like, give the guy the ball.
Yeah. They've got. Again, it baffles me that they don't get in the ball more. But nonetheless, they win the games. And I guess at the end of the day, that's the most important thing. But man, like, they get no points for style on winning. That's 100% sure in my mind, anyway. All right, let's move on to the next G5 versus G5 game, and this ended up being a great game. I caught the first half, and then I came back, and it was like overtime. And North Texas versus Army, American Conference game. North Texas got the win in overtime over Army, and man, like when I came back and it was in overtime, I'm like, what the heck happened? Because like North Texas was dominating this game. Part of that was Army's own fault, but North Texas got a touchdown on their first drive, and like the thing, this is again probably. I watched a lot of football on Saturday, more football than I've watched the entire year combined, just from either being out of town with family or being at Old Dominion home games, etc. And so, when that happens, I don't get to watch a lot, at least on Saturday anyway. And North Texas, they spread the ball around a lot, whether that's with the wide receivers, whether that's with the running backs. They have a lot of guys on offense that are getting a lot of, spreading those touches around pretty evenly. But North Texas, like I said, gets a touchdown on that first drive. Army, then Cale Helms throws a bad pitch to Noah Short on their first drive. It ends up being a fumble. North Texas recovers. They turn that into another touchdown. It's 14-0 at that point. Army again's got the ball. Quarterback Cale Helms on a run fumbles the ball. North Texas recovers it, and 2 plays later, guess what? We got another North Texas touchdown. It's 21-0 at that point. Army does answer back with running back Briggs Bartosh, who they said was like might not have even played in the game. Like there was some question whether he was going to dress or not. And yes, thankful for Army that he did, but he busted a big 75-yard touchdown run to get Army on the board. And then on the kickoff, like something like I guess you'd never really think about, but the North Texas, the returner, I forget who it was. Anyway, the sun was really bad. So he raised his hand. He was trying to block the sun. But what happens when you raise your hand? Like everybody thinks it's you're calling for a fair catch. It wasn't what he was doing, but anyway, that caused the penalty. And so North Texas gets the ball on the 2-yard line. North Texas goes for it on 4th and 1 at midfield. Mestamaker throws it behind a wide open Mackenzie McGill. And that would have been a huge play, except Army, because that was a 4th and 1. They didn't get it. Army would have got the ball at midfield. But then Army got called for targeting on the play. The booth called it. It wasn't flagged on the field. The booth called down, said, "Hey, we got targeting." And so North Texas got to keep the ball. They got a couple more yards, and then they decided to go for it again on 4th and 6 from the 38-yard line. Mestamaker had I don't remember what receiver it was. I just remember he threw it deep. The receiver was wide open. It would have been a touchdown, but he overthrew the guy on 4th and 6. And so Army gets the ball. And now we see Dwayne Coleman. Said Helms had the bad pitch. And mostly his fault why on that pitch, why that was a fumble. Then he fumbled the ball himself. And so they said, okay, we've seen enough from you, Cale. We're going back to Dwayne Coleman. And man, like he kind of gave them a huge, huge lift. Brought them back, man. Got them to overtime. And then in overtime, Dwayne Coleman got knocked out. Helms comes back in. Army needs a touchdown to to kind of send the game into double overtime, and Kel Helms overthrew the wide receiver in the end zone, and that was kind of game over. Man, it was an exciting game. North Texas had him, and then they let him back. When Dwayne Coleman came back in, it gave such a lift to the Army offense, and got them going and got to overtime. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens moving forward. I think if someone asked me today, do I think Dwayne Coleman is going to be good for the next game? I don't know. He had to come out there in overtime. Helms had to come in. And I feel like Army is this could be a thing all year long, right? Where we're going back and forth between the two guys, where they're kind of playing the hot hand. I mean, Dwayne Coleman was out. Helms had a heck of a game in his first start against Kansas State, leads them to that big win. And then he pretty much has the two fumbles, the two turnovers, or the primary factor in the two turnovers early in this game. And then they put Dwayne Coleman in, and he gave him such a lift, and then he got knocked out. Don't know how bad his injury is. So, if you're looking at the Army quarterbacks, stay tuned. Maybe we'll get some more news as the week progresses.
All right. Then Ball State at UConn. UConn pulls this one out 31-25. First quarter, UConn pins Ball State at the 2 and they are unable to move the ball. Nice punt return for UConn, sets up a field goal as UConn struggled to move the ball. Skylar Bell show in the final possession of the first quarter. UConn would be up. In that final possession, he had 4 catches for 55 yards and a touchdown. Let's look at the third quarter. It starts with Ball State punt and then a UConn 14-play, 60-yard drive for a touchdown. They're now up 17-7. Ball State tacks on a field goal at 17-10. Moving into the fourth quarter, UConn has a 5-minute drive that Cam Edwards punches it in from 32 yards out. They're up 24-10. Ball State throws an INT. UConn goes 3 and out. Ball State 4th and 5 with about 6 minutes left, completes a 28-yard pass that almost goes for a touchdown. He's out at the 1, rolling right, slightly across the body. Quay Ashley punches it in, and they're able to go within 7. This one was exciting. Like I said, Ball State seemed to be out of it. UConn was kind of, having their, I don't want to say having their way, but they were in command of this game. And then, this fourth quarter, Ball State just kind of hung around. You got a 67-yard touchdown by Cam Edwards. That practically ends it 31-17. Ball State scores in just over 1 minute and gets the 2-point conversion. It's 31-25. UConn gets the onside kick. Then it gets a little chippy there at the end. You got offensive linemen, defensive linemen pushing each other. But like I said, interesting fourth quarter. UConn should have won the game by probably more, but it was that once Ball State threw the INT and UConn just went 3 and out, and then the Quay Ashley touchdown, like that. Just like I said, Ball State wouldn't go around. UConn just had a hard time, putting the clamps down. But yeah, UConn wins.
All right, this was probably the biggest game I was looking forward to this week. In terms of for my Old Dominion Monarchs, we played both Liberty and obviously we played James Madison. We're in the same conference, same division in the same conference, and we played Liberty in week 5. And so this game had my attention. 2 Virginia schools as well, JMU versus Liberty. I wanted to see. The last time I watched JMU was against Louisville, and they were doing the quarterback rotation. And then I had not had a chance to watch Liberty this season. So this game kind of got my full attention. I got to say, at the end of the day, I wasn't overly impressed by either team. Liberty is not good. They are not good in the trenches. Whether it's offensive line or defensive line, they are not good. And because of my impression of Liberty, I wasn't overly impressed with JMU because I felt like they should have won the game been more dominant than they were. And this was a pretty close game up through the first half. Alonzo Barnett III got the start. There was no quarterback rotation this week. It was all Alonzo Barnett, but he threw an interception in the end zone, which kind of that played a big part in terms of like the score. But and then like I said, it was a really, really close game. And then like I mentioned in the injury report, Vasco took a sack there at the end of the half, landed, he got basically they drove his non-throwing shoulder into the ground. And he did not play in the second half. His arm was in a sling. And so then we saw a rotation of Michael Merdinger and Ethan Hawke, the freshman. My personal opinion, like why didn't they just stick with one guy, was because I feel like the game plan was built around Ethan Vasco and Ethan Vasco's skill set, right? He's very much a dual threat quarterback. Merdinger is not a dual threat. That's not to say he's a pocket guy. He's a statue. He has functional mobility, and we saw it in the game, right? But he's not really a guy you're doing designed runs with per se. And so they would put Ethan Hawke in, if they were planning on like doing a design run. And so like, I don't know, when you do things like that, like that's just not JMU did it. And we saw how that worked out, right? Like you're like, it just feels like you're showing your hand before you hike the ball in terms of what to expect with the quarterbacks. And so that's when things kind of got out of hand in the second half. Liberty tied the game at 10 with a field goal, but like I said, you could kind of feel the momentum change when JMU won a 9-play, 81-yard drive that ended with a Wayne Knight 1-yard touchdown run. Liberty goes 3 and out, and then JMU has a 67-yard drive that eats up 6 minutes and is capped off by a 9-yard Alonzo Barnett read where he kept the ball, puts up JMU up 24-13, and then another Alonzo Barnett touchdown run put him up 31-13. The thing, like, we didn't see it up until this game, but Alonzo Barnett, and like I just said, he ran the ball. And the last time we saw him, it was Saluka in there for the running plays. But Alonzo Barnett looked fully healthy. He wasn't wearing a brace. Seems like a fast recovery to me, considering it was the last game of 2024 when he tore his ACL. But nonetheless, man, he looked healthy. Kind of looked like the Alonzo Barnett of old, so to speak, for JMU. And man, like it's things are shaping up for a big matchup between Old Dominion, a big showdown in the group of 5 between Old Dominion and James Madison coming up. I believe it's October 18th, I think. It's homecoming for James Madison, so that should be a good one. But yeah, JMU pulls it off and beats Liberty. And no idea how long Ethan Vasco is going to be out. I've heard some rumors that perhaps he broke his clavicle. That's 100% a rumor. That's not been confirmed anywhere. Like I said, all I know is he was in a sling on the sidelines. But if he's going to be out for a extended period of time, it's going to be bad news for a Liberty team that's only win has come against the FCS team.
When you talked about the health of Barnett, you can pay me no amount of money to make me not believe he didn't go to Clemson and visit those voodoo doctors who make everybody's ACLs magically better very quickly. Except for maybe this one's a little bit different because like he's performing well. Usually, those Clemson voodoo doctors, there's still something going on with their recovery. Thanks, Brett. Had it on there. Thank you for the kind words with the game reviews. All right, let's get into Louisiana at Eastern Michigan. This one was exciting, especially at the end. Louisiana opens the game with a 7-play, 75-yard touchdown drive. Noah Kim and Dante McMillan have a nice drive. passing the ball, running the ball at the end of the first quarter that ends with a Kim 2-yard touchdown run. We're tied at 7. Quarter 2 starts. Louisiana kicks a field goal, followed by a Eastern Michigan touchdown, fueled by Nick Devereaux catch for 36 yards on a 3rd and 11. He's down at the 2, and they punch it in for the 14-10 lead. Louisiana answers right back with a Bill Davis run of 45 yards for a touchdown. It's now 17-14 Louisiana. EMU gets a touchdown, and Louisiana misses a field goal before the half. Going into half, it's Eastern Michigan 21-17. Third quarter was all about field positioning, but Noah Kim's INT ended with a 35-yard touchdown return by Cortland Flowers to give Louisiana the 24-21 lead. Eastern Michigan runs the ball well to end the third and to start the fourth quarter with a 6-yard touchdown run by Dunlap. They're now up 28-24. Now, Louisiana goes 3 and out, and then an EMU field goal puts them up 7. We're now 31-24. Louisiana converts on a 3rd and 11 for 29 yards. A Beal to Sampson catch there. They go for it on 4th and 2 at the EMU 35 and throw a big interception. Caleb Dobbs with that interception. EMU can't move the ball. They have to punt it back. Louisiana throws another pick and sets up Eastern Michigan with good field position at the Louisiana 41. Again, can't move the ball. They go and they elect to try to kick the field goal to go up by 2 scores. They miss the 53-yard field goal. Louisiana takes advantage of that field position, scores in under 2 minutes. The field position, it's now tied at 31 apiece with 44 seconds left. EMU is pressing a little to score. A 27-yard pass from Kim to Joshua Long on a 3rd and 1 puts EMU at the Louisiana 29. A 5-yard run by McMillan puts them at the 29 and sets up for a 42-yard field goal. Coach got really upset because there was about 5 or 7 seconds left. I think it was 7 seconds left on the clock. Coach calls a timeout. It's 4th and 5. He was yelling, "I didn't take a timeout. Why would I take a timeout? Why would I? It's 4th and 5 and 7 seconds left." Louisiana didn't have any timeouts, so it's like, something could happen. He could, bobble the snap or whatever, and so he was livid. And after missing that 53-yard field goal, Kesslinger hits from 42, and EMU wins despite the little timeout mishap, 34-31.
I wonder, I don't know. I don't think either one of I didn't watch the game. I don't think either one of these teams are very good. I think Eastern Michigan is probably better offensively than Louisiana. Louisiana just had so many losses between the offensive line, the quarterback, now the receiver, Shelton Sampson. But the Eastern Michigan defense, they're rough.
Did you talk about the Sampson injury?
We did. The hamstring. Yeah, he's out 5 to 6 weeks. So, and then, like I said, and they lost their 2 offensive tackles too, which now that's 4 of their top 5 offensive tackles that are gone. So, rough year ahead. Unfortunately, it looks like for the Raging Cajuns. All right, this game, man, this was a defensive battle, defensive struggle. I don't know. It wasn't. If you don't like defense, it was a great game to watch. Tucker Kilcrease got the start for Troy. He was bad. He stunk it up. They put in Uiale. He wasn't much better, and they seemed to alternate those two back and forth. 9 combined first half punts, 1 Buffalo touchdown, and a Troy fumble. Buffalo with 6 sacks in the first half. And then kind of I don't know, it felt like Buffalo was the better team. And I even after the game and Buffalo loses, but I still feel like Buffalo was the better team. What happened was Taquan Robertson got knocked out of the game. And that just kind of changed it, man. When Taquan Robertson got knocked out and Gunnar Gray had to come in at quarterback. Like, it just seemed like, all they could do effectively was hand the ball off to Al-Jay Henderson. And, man, like, you can imagine what the Troy defense was doing at that point. They're just really stacking the box. I mean, Al-Jay had some nice runs, but, man, like, it's a lot to ask him to kind of – it's almost like they were single-handedly asking him from an offensive perspective anyway to carry the team to victory. And just it wasn't good. Like I said, it felt like all Buffalo. Troy was pulling out all the stops. They had Ra Thomas on a double reverse, trying to throw a gadget touchdown, and he threw an interception there in the third quarter. And then all of a sudden, man, like Troy kind of got it going on offense. They had back-to-back touchdown drives, brought them within 3. Buffalo went 3 and out with under 5 minutes to go. Troy scored a touchdown on that next possession to take the lead. There was 6 runs, 3 passes, only 1 completion, 20-yard touchdown run by Tay Meadows. And then Troy came from behind and took the game, man. Like, I don't know. It just once Taquan Roberson went out for Buffalo, that was kind of like all she wrote. It was like they were just playing to – the play calling was playing to not lose and instead of trying to play to win. And that's what they did. They lost the game. But, I mean, I still think Troy's the better team. I think Buffalo's the better team. I think that Troy defense is good, but, man, if they don't get Goose Crowder back at offense, it's going to be ugly. Those other quarterbacks they're not good. They're not good. And Troy's going to struggle on offense until they can get Goose Crowder back.
All right. Now let's take a look at some MACtion. We've got Toledo at Western Michigan. We're going to pick this one up in the second quarter where Western Michigan fumbles a punt with 1 minute left. Toledo gets the field goal. They're up 3-0 at the half. This was a surprising game. It was not on my radar of really games to watch, but this is honestly the second game that is involving Western Michigan this season that I'm not that interested in. North Texas was that other one. This is this where it's like, I look up and, hey, North Texas is in some trouble. And then here, hey, Toledo's in some trouble. Opposite ends of the spectrum, points versus no points. But yeah, Toledo's going to lean on Chip Trainum as Tucker Gleason only threw for 80 yards in the game, had 2 interceptions. Chip had 26 carries for 153 yards and a touchdown. Toledo in the third scores on 2 Chip rushes. Chip had a 63-yard touchdown run. They're going up 10-0. Toledo scores another field goal to go up 13-0. Western has 2 big passes and a penalty to help them score a touchdown to cut the lead to 6. Western Michigan flips the field on a 67-yard drive. They couldn't convert on a 4th and 7 on the Toledo 16, but Toledo can't move the ball, which was the story of the day. They punt the ball back to Western Michigan, who scores a touchdown on their very next drive, fueled by a 43-yard pass on 4th and 10 from Lowry to Takleek Williams. They're now up 14-13. Toledo goes 3 and out. Western Michigan wins. Tucker Gleason stunk. Toledo falls to a winless Western Michigan in Kalamazoo. Wild game. Wild game.
It's I don't know. Like, this is like people call it a class. I mean, I saw people on Twitter talking about it's a classic Jason Candle stinker. He does seem to have those, but like, man, like Tucker Gleason, like he is so inconsistent at quarterback. Like, and it's such a shame because like I feel like, they got Chip Trainum, they got top end receivers, they have a really, really good defense. Like, the thing they're missing is strong quarterback play, and Tucker Gleason, man, once again, like, puts up a stinker. Just so inconsistent. Like, can you imagine like if Parker Navarro was on Toledo? Like, they might be being talked about as like the college football playoff contender coming from the MAC, but like Tucker Gleason, man, I don't have faith in the guy to get it done, man. Like, he's just so inconsistent. All right. This was kind of hailed as the big Conference USA matchup this week. You had Florida International coming off that big win in the Shula Bowl over Florida Atlantic, and then Delaware, kind of the surprise team thus far in Conference USA, and it wasn't much of a game. Delaware, like they won this game rather easily. For like first half was all Delaware. Kyrie Duplessis had a punt return for a touchdown. He was named the Conference USA Special Teams Player of the Week. Really, the only mistake was a Nick Minicucci interception. And FIU took a sack on third down. They hurried onto the field for a field goal attempt, to try to, get some points there at the half. They missed it, so it's 24-7 at half. We mentioned this earlier. Duplessis on a long catch on third down kind of came up a little bit gimpy. He was able to return. Third quarter, there was only 2 possessions in the second, and both teams kind of 8 clock there in the third quarter. 1 possession in the second half, under 5 minutes. 5:27, 6:33, 5:31, 7:31, 4:45. The Delaware offense, was rolling in the game, and Florida National never really seemed to get things going. Maybe they were still hung over from the big Shula Bowl win. I think it was their first Shula Bowl win, and I don't remember how many. You remember how many years it was?
Yeah, it's oh gosh, no, I don't remember the year.
But it's been a while. So maybe
2017, maybe. I don't.
They were having some hangover from that game, but man, yeah, Delaware won the game. They dominated the game, and they got the W. And a big conference win for Delaware. And who knows? Maybe we'll see them in the conference championship game.
I thought it was really odd, just wild with that second half and the third quarter. There's only 2 possessions. Like they ate up so much clock that each team had the ball once in that third quarter, and then you have 3 more possessions in the entire game. It was just like once all that time was ate up in the third quarter, there wasn't much time for a comeback. All right, let's move on to Arkansas State at Kennesaw State. Amari Odom, welcome. He had a great first half. He was 17 of 22 for 251 yards and 1 passing touchdown. He was 10 for 50 and 1 on the ground. Kennesaw was leaning on a great first quarter where they were up 21-0. This is how that first quarter went. Arkansas State punt, Kennesaw State touchdown, Arkansas State punt, Kennesaw touchdown, Arkansas State punt, Kennesaw touchdown, Arkansas State fumble. Like Kennesaw State just leaned on that first quarter. The D line just worked Arkansas State's O line. Arkansas State, though, was able to pull within 7 with about 15 minutes left, but only had 18 yards in their next 3 possessions, just unable to move the ball against Kennesaw State. Kennesaw State wins this one 28-21.
This was a shocker for me. Like, I don't know. Like, I didn't have eyes on this game, but man, like, I thought this would be a get right game for Arkansas State, for Jalen Rayner, for Corey Rucker to get on track, and like, it just didn't happen. But it sounds like from talking with you earlier, Luke, like the Arkansas State offensive line is really, really bad. Yeah. All right. Speaking of bad. I guess it was a good game in terms of scoring a competitive game, but this is 2 teams that are not good. Marshall at Middle Tennessee. Marshall gets the win 42-28, but they really kind of pulled away in that fourth quarter. The game kind of came down to third down efficiency. Marshall was 7 for 12, whereas Middle Tennessee was only 3 for 10 on third down. Carlos Del Rio Wilson had a big game. 16 for 22, 4 touchdowns, 22 rushing yards, and a touchdown on the ground. And like I said, it was 28-21 going into the fourth quarter. And then Marshall just kind of pulled away with 21 unanswered points. Middle Tennessee only had 22 yards on 12 plays in the fourth quarter, compared to Marshall's 32 plays for 208 yards and 21 points in the fourth quarter, with Marshall really leaning on the run. primarily Michael Allen Jr. there for the Thundering Herd, and then some timely passes to win the game. Again, two really bad teams, but as a Sun Belt guy, I was glad to see the Sun Belt get the win here over Conference USA. I think if you look on the week, I think they went 2-2, which is, I don't know, not good for the Sun Belt in my opinion. But kudos to Conference USA for getting their 2 wins.
All right, Nevada at Western Kentucky. Nevada led this game for a majority. Fourth quarter was the Lavelle Wright show. He had 46 yards and a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Nevada with an onside kick after a field goal. They're down 31-16, but Matthew Henry on this onside kick returns it for a touchdown. I can't remember what it was, 50 some yards, 46 yards, whatever it was. Took it to the house, ended that. But like I said in my player of the week, had timely turnovers that just kept them around. I think those turnovers kept it at 10-0, but it could have been really quick. It could have been 24-0, within, I think it was all in the first, it would have been first half. Could have been 24-0 at one point, but a timely fumble recovery and interception in this one by Jalen Lewis. So that's the main reason why he won my player of the week, because of those timely turnovers. We could look at Nevada beating WKU in this one, but different story. Like I said, 31-26, Western Kentucky gets the W.
All right. If you like offense, this was a game to watch. Man, it was neither team's defense could stop the other team. Boise State at Air Force, Mountain West Conference matchup. Boise State wins it 49-37. 8 plays of 10+ yards for Boise, and that was only one play into the second quarter. Lots of big plays, and that just continued, man. The Boise State run game was dominant. Dylan Riley, every time I turned around, the dude's felt like he was rushing for a 50-yard touchdown. And then when they weren't feeding him the ball, it was Malik Sherrod busting off a big run. And then Air Force gets the ball, and it's Kate Harris in the pass game, getting a big, having a big play. And it was just, I don't know, it was kind of crazy. It's not what you expect from either team. You expect them Air Force wants to control the ball. They want to run the ball. They want to control it. Boise State's defense is usually really, really good. And that's probably the most puzzling thing to me this year is that Boise State defense, how bad they've been. Because they returned a lot of talent on that defense, but man, they just have not looked good, except for the game against the FCS opponent, Eastern Washington. As we mentioned, as Luke's player of the week, it was the Dylan Riley show. 19 carries, 174 yards, 5 total touchdowns. He had 2 catches for 84 yards. And it was the Cade Harris show for the Air Force offense. Yeah, man, I don't know. If somebody stops this Boise State running game, they're going to be in trouble. Which was what we saw against South Florida, right? They were able to kind of keep the running game in check, and Boise State wasn't able to do much. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting year for the Boise State Broncos in 2025.
All right. Now, talk about a surprise. Coastal Carolina at South Alabama, Sun Belt Conference game matchup. In the first, the Jags missed an opportunity to get 3 points. It's 4th and 4 at the 30. They have an incomplete pass. But at the end of the first, you kind of feel like South Alabama is starting to get things figured out. Quarter 3, different story. You got a 3 and out. Coastal scores a touchdown in 3 plays. First play, for South Alabama is a bad INT. Then Coastal scores a touchdown. The Jags get a field goal. It's 21-14 Coastal at this point, and then things unravel in the fourth. You've got a missed field goal. They go on the 70-yard drive. South Alabama does. They miss the field goal. Coastal takes it down 80 yards for a touchdown. It's 28-17 now. Coastal. The Jags get a field goal. Coastal has to punt, but then the Jags throw an INT, and Coastal throws another or tacks on another field goal. They're up 31-20, and then the Jags fumble, and it's returned for a touchdown. Game's in the bag. Coastal wins this one 38-20. This Coastal team, I thought, was probably one of the worst teams in the FBS up to this point, and they did not play like that in this game at all. So that was nice to see. Obviously, South Alabama didn't play super well either, but I think this was more of Coastal, playing up.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, some people I've talked to, like, there was a faction that said, "Oh, South Alabama played god awful," and then there was another faction that said, "Well, Coastal finally figured out how to play offense." So I was kind of curious your thoughts, Luke. It sounds like you think like maybe it's a little bit of both.
It was a little bit of both, but I will. I mean, you talk about you. So you got a coaching decision in the first. You decide to not get a field goal, and then you go 3 and out. Defense. South Alabama's had a hard time tackling this year. It's been tackling has been rough. Then you throw an INT. Bishop Davenport's just having a hard time holding on to the ball. Like he just holds it loose, and sometimes he gets a fumble knocked out, or he's throwing an INT. He's having a rough start to the year. And like I said, they go on a nice drive, 70 yards, missed field goal. You're like, okay. But then Coastal takes it down for the touchdown, and then Jags throw another INT, and then it was a little bit of both. But I will say, of everything that I've seen this year, Coastal had the biggest jump from where they were to where they played this weekend, as opposed to where the Jags played this weekend, in my opinion.
Gotcha. All right. This was another big matchup I was looking forward to, and it didn't disappoint, but it wasn't much of a game. I felt like Louisiana Tech just really dominated Southern Miss. Baker got to start at quarterback for Louisiana Tech, and Eli Finley had a day, man. I want to say like it was the first 2 possessions, and Eli Finley already had over 100 yards receiving. He had a heck of a game, the tight end for Louisiana Tech. And it's a good thing like that first thing. I felt like Louisiana Tech didn't do much in the second half of the game. They built up that lead there mostly in the first half, and that Louisiana Tech defense, man, they are really good. Which I don't want to say it's surprising, but they were good last year, but they lost a couple of pieces, especially on that defensive line from last year. So I didn't necessarily expect them to be as good, but I'm gonna tell you, like I think they're better than they were a year ago. They're led by Colby Fields. Their linebackers are really good. They have some good corners and safeties too, but Colby Fields is the leader on that defense. He had that big pick 6 interception that kind of killed any momentum Southern Miss was able to muster up, so to speak. And man, I didn't see this one coming. I thought I thought Southern Miss would be able to pull it out. I thought at the very least it was going to be a close game, and it wasn't. I walked away super impressed from Louisiana Tech, and as I said earlier, if Louisiana Tech, can become consistent on offense, and score points, like they could be the favorite in Conference USA because of the way that defense plays. So, kudos to the Bulldogs, and in the future, this will be a Sun Belt Conference matchup starting next year, a Sun Belt West division matchup. But kudos to Louisiana Tech getting the win over Southern Miss.
All right, UL Monroe at UTEP. All ULM in the first half. First quarter started with the UTEP driving down the field, but failed on a 4th and goal from the 4. ULM 3-play touchdown drive fueled by a 72-yard run by Dorian Lewis. I think he only had like 5, maybe 8 touches in the game. And I think maybe he finished with like 78 yards. So like a lot of it came on that one run. UTEP answers back with a 1-play, 73-yard touchdown pass to Trayvon Tate. A missed UTEP field goal leads to a 2-play touchdown drive for Louisiana Monroe with a 37-yard pass to Jake Godfrey, and then a 40-yard touchdown run from McReynolds. First half is 24-7. The game's pretty much over at this point. Pack up the bags, turn off the TV. Third quarter, ULM tacks on a touchdown. It's now 31-10. Game over. Not so fast, everybody. UTEP has a big fourth quarter behind the arm of Malachi Nelson. Like, this was a huge fourth quarter. He had 127 yards passing and 2 touchdowns in under 4 minutes. He had a 44 and a 20-yard touchdown pass, both to Wadam Davis. 31-25. ULM with the ball, 6 minutes to go. They're up 31-25, like I just said. ULM keeps the ball on the ground for a first down. They're driving, but then they get a delay of game. It hurts them. They aren't able to get another first down. But UTEP, INT sets up ULM at the UTEP 30. ULM runs and doesn't go for the field goal, which was just baffling to me. All right, I'm trying to do the math here. We got 31-25. That is how many points? 6. You can kick the field goal and go up 9. There's a minute 13 left. You decide to go for it. Like, what? What are we doing? They fail on 4th and 4, and UTEP has a 1 minute 13 seconds to go to get this touchdown. But there's just too many incompletions that ate up time. And then, you throw it, INT seals it. Honestly, the INT didn't even matter. It just, they ate up so much time in people developing routes and stuff. ULM wins this one, but that was just odd at that point, like to not even go up 2 scores and just go for it on 4th. Gave him an opportunity, especially with how Malachi Nelson had played in that 4th quarter. But this one, UL Monroe squeaks one out, 31-25.
What looked like another big matchup in the G5. We got UTSA at Colorado State. UTSA ends up winning 17-16. It was an ugly game. It was ugly. I think Luke in our comments, Luke just put penalties. It was like, I tell you what this game reminded me of, and not in terms of like, I would say it reminded me of some Boise State games from last year. And the reason why I say that is because Ashton Jeanty single-handedly won Boise State some games last year. Well, in this case, I'm talking about Robert Henry Jr., and he single-handedly won this game for UTSA. You look at all the advanced metrics, Colorado State should have won the game. But the best player on the field was on UTSA, and that was Robert Henry Jr. We saw, Braden Fowler-Nicolosi, I talked about earlier. We saw him get replaced in the game by Jackson Brousseau. Seemed to give the offense a little bit of a lift. One thing we haven't really mentioned about, we talked about this quarterback competition, and that's Taj Bullock. So, he's being used as a wildcat quarterback in the red zone, essentially. So, whether it's Braden Fowler-Nicolosi or Jackson Brousseau, they're coming out, and then Taj Bullock's going in. Robert Henry had the 74-yard catch. He had 2 70-plus yard runs. Like I said, he single-handedly won this game for UTSA, and that's why he was my offensive player of the week. 220 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kudos to Robert Henry for beating the Colorado State Rams.
I believe he also leads the NCAA in rushing yards. I could be wrong.
I think he did. Yeah. You're absolutely right.
All right. Fresno State at Hawaii, Mountain West Conference matchup. Everyone had this on their bingo card. It's 2-0 Hawaii with 2 minutes in the first half. Everyone had that, right?
It was a defensive battle, man. Oh my God.
And then there's an Otis fumble recovery for a touchdown. They reviewed it. I don't know how many times I saw it. I was like, all right, yep, that's going to be overturned. It's upheld. It's now 9-0. Fresno scores before the half. It's 9-7. Let's just move on to the fourth quarter. Hawaii hit a field goal late in the third to make it 15-13. But then Fresno's barely moves the ball, but eats up over 5 minutes of the clock. A Fresno State penalty puts them back, and they try a 54-yard field goal. They miss. Now, this is that. I was trying to set it up. I got a little bit wrong here. I said, let's move over to the fourth quarter. I talked about a little bit of the third quarter. We're in the fourth quarter now. Hawaii INT gives Fresno the ball. Great field possession. Hamilton was able to return an interception 42 yards to the Hawaii 12. And like you said, this defensive struggle, they're having a hard time moving the ball. They settle for a field goal. Now it's 16-15 with Fresno leading. Hawaii's driving, but Kavion Thunderbird INT was huge. He takes it 59 yards to the house. Now Fresno State up 23-15. Hawaii's looking to respond and move the ball, but the drive stalls. Fresno also unable to move the ball. Hawaii's down 8, 3:06 to go. Now, I can't remember which game we were talking about earlier, Justice, but you're like, I think it was maybe the Tulsa game. You're like, oh, I'm nervous. Like, they're going to let it go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it is about Alejado, but like, I mean, he's not playing well. Throwing a lot of INTs the last couple of weeks. But honestly, when he gets the ball, I'm like, all right, they're going to win it. Like, it's a different, like, what you're witnessing is not good in terms of like there's a lot of interceptions, but he gets that ball and it's just a different feeling. Like I said, okay, Hawaii's down 8, 3:06 to go. I'm like, all right, like they got it. Hawaii's got it. They get a first down, then a pass interference. Alejado gets sacked. It's an incomplete, and they have to go for it. 4th and 8, Fresno 39-yard line. Alejado runs for a first down. It's now 3rd and 2 at the Fresno 10 with 10 seconds to go. Touchdown by Blaze.
Okay.
Yeah, but they failed to get the 2-point conversion. Fresno State holds on to win, and they win this one. What was it? 25-23? Is that what it was? Or 23-21, I think it was.
Yeah.
So
man, there's been a lot of talk about what Fresno State was doing to Alejado, going after his ankles. Dirty.
This is a heated rivalry.
It's a big rivalry, right? It is a defense struggle, defensive battle. Neither offense really did much in the game. It was not a pretty game, especially when it's 2:30 a.m. my time. I didn't make it to the very end. I made it to the point where they Fresno State missed that field goal, and then I fell asleep. But man, yeah, defensive struggle. Both defenses were impressive, but neither offense looked good in the game.
All right.
That's gonna do it for our week 4 preview. But we don't have a lot of time to spare, so you want to jump right into our week 5. We finished week 4 review. Jump into our week 5 preview.
All right, we've got Friday G5 versus P4 games. We've got Houston at Oregon State, 10:30 p.m. Eastern. Houston favored by 13.5, over under set at 47.5. All I've really got to say in this one is Oregon State has not been looking good.
No, I hope for Corey's sake they show up in this game. They've had 2 rough weeks, man. It could be a 3rd rough week for the Beavers. Houston's actually looked pretty decent in the games I've seen him play, and so could be another rough week for Oregon State, unfortunately.
All right. Now let's get to the G5 versus P4 games on Saturday. And we've got Utah State at number 20 Vanderbilt. We've got the line for this one is, I don't know what happened to my screen. I don't know what happened to my screen. My screen just cut off.
Utah, Vanderbilt's favored by 22.5, over under 59.5. Man, like, Vanderbilt dropped 70 on Georgia State. I realize Utah State's better than Georgia State, but man, like that, I don't care who you're playing. Like, if you're playing another FBS team, dropping 70 is pretty freaking impressive. Vanderbilt's really playing with a chip on their shoulders, man. Like, but Utah State's playing well too with under coach Bronco Mendenhall, Bryson Barnes, Miles Davis, Brady Boyd, Braden Pegan. Man, I don't know. That seems like a big line, but to me, I'm not gonna touch it. I did terrible betting this week, man. So like, yeah, I'm scared to say anything as bad as I was with my own money on Saturday. But it could be a good game to Brett's point. Both teams have the potential to put up some points. So it could be an entertaining game, G5 versus P4.
All right. Next game we have is UMass at number 23, Missouri. Still flying blind here.
UMass at Missouri. Missouri favored by 43.5. Over under 56.5. This game's going to be ugly. UMass is not good. It's going to be a blowout, dare I say, unless Missouri is just like totally overlooking them and UMass plays the game of their lives. But I don't know. There's not a whole lot to say here, except hopefully UMass can come out of the game healthy and get ready for MAC play coming up here soon.
All right. And then San Jose State at Stanford, 7:30 p.m. Eastern game. This one, Stanford favored by 2.5 points, over under set at 50.5 points. I really don't know what to make of this game because San Jose State, I think, was both of our G5 representative coming into the year, but
to be in the Mountain West Championship.
Yeah, they're my representative, and I had high expectations. They have not lived up to expectations so far, but Stanford hasn't been very good this year.
They did beat Boston College, which shocked me 2 weeks ago. So
again, like if San Jose State wins or loses, I don't really know if that really tells me much about this team. But I will say if they lose, like I'm a little bit more concerned because this is one of those games where I think that they have a realistic shot to beat a P4, and then kind of maybe tells you where they stack up against Hawaii for later on down the line.
If you remember earlier, I said there was two things like that absolutely blew my mind, and the one earlier was number 2, and that was why UNLV doesn't get Jet Thomas the ball more. Well, the number one thing that blows my mind, and it's been going on since last year, is Walker Eggett. He is not good. He is not a good quarterback. We talked about it ad nauseum last year about like why is he the quarterback and not Emmett Brown? The offense looks so much better with Emmett Brown at quarterback. Well, then this year you get Walker Eggett, and man, like he's not good. He's not good. And then behind him you have Tama Amasone, a true freshman. You got Robert McDaniel, another freshman. Like, I don't know. I just feel like at some point they got to look to one of those two guys. I'm assuming it's going to be Tama's would get the first option, because he's kind of been the one coming in, to spell Eggett from time to time. But like they should have lost this week. San Jose State should have lost. I watched that game. They should have lost against the FCS opponent. And if I had $1 for every time I watched Walker Eget try to throw it deep or throw it outside and like just throw a god awful pass, I'd be a rich man. Like he's not good. He's not a good quarterback. I don't understand what the staff sees in him that makes them think he gives them the best chance to win. I just feel like at this point, like, you got to give one of these other guys a shot, man. Like, if you want to win the Sun Belt, it ain't going to be Walker Eget that's going to win you. If you want to win Mountain West, it's not going to be Walker Eget that's gonna win you the Mountain West. Like, they got to put one of these freshmen in and see what they have, man, because Walker Eget is not the answer. There's talent on this team. There's enough talent on this team. The schedule lines up well for them to be able to win the Mountain West, but like, they ain't doing it with Walker Eget. Sorry, not going to happen in my opinion.
All right, moving over to our Thursday G5 versus G5 games. We start off with Army at East Carolina. This is an American Conference game. ECU favored by 4.5 points. Over under set at 52.5. We'll see what the line does with quarterback news as that comes out. I like ECU in this game. I don't know if I like them by 4.5.
It's going to be a tight game, I think.
I think so.
I feel like it's going to be a tight game, and like this will kind of tell us. I feel like is ECU a real contender in the American. I don't know. Like the American, in my opinion, is the strongest conference in the Group of 5 this year, but I feel like they're going to cannibalize each other. They can start this week with Army beating East Carolina. Two I think, evenly matched teams. Should be a good game. Should be a fun game, entertaining game there in Greenville. It's a Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. game, so I'll get to watch it. I'll be tuning in. As Luke already knows, I'll be rooting for my favorite team, the East Carolina Pirates, to get the win over the Army Black Knights.
All right. Now, Saturday, G5 versus G5 game. South Alabama at North Texas, 12 p.m. Eastern kick. North Texas favored by 12.5. Over under set at 63.5.
It feels like they're cheating North Texas. Like they should beat South Alabama by more than 2 touchdowns. They're only favored by 12.5.
I like that. North Texas defense has played well too. Something that I anticipate seeing here is something similar to last week, where North Texas ran the ball a lot. North Texas typically a team that passes the ball a lot, but South Alabama's tackling has been so bad. I wouldn't be surprised to see a whole bunch of running, still putting up points, but maybe leaning more on the run this week.
Yeah, I think if I might dabble a little in this game and take North Texas getting 12.5 because I feel like they're going to win by at least 2 touchdowns over this South Alabama squad.
All right, then we move over to Bowling Green at Ohio, 12 p.m. MACtion time. We've got Ohio favored by 10.5, over under set at 51.5. I look for Ohio to keep rolling. I look for Chase Hendricks to have a big game, Parker Navarro to have a big game, and Ohio to win this one.
I think Chase Hendricks is leading the nation in receiving yards. If not, he's pretty high up there. Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I think Bowling Green has exceeded my expectations so far at this point. But like to me, it's pretty clear Ohio is the clear the best team in the MAC. They're the class of the MAC this year. And I look for them to repeat as MAC champions, and it starts with getting a win against Bowling Green at home in Athens. Only favored by 10.5. I like I like Ohio and the points in that one.
He is. He is leading the nation in receiving yards with 456 on 28 receptions. Right behind him, UConn, Skylar Bell. All right. Georgia Southern at JMU, 1:30 p.m. Eastern game. Sun Belt Conference game. This one, JMU favored by 16.5. Over under set at 57.5. I'm not touching this because I still don't know what Georgia Southern is. They've had highs and lows, but I will be interested to check in this game. I do feel like if Alonzo Burnett is fully back, I think JMU wins this game. But from a betting perspective, I would not be touching it.
Yeah.
Georgia Southern is just all over.
Yeah, to Kerry's point, man, the Georgia Southern defense has not. They weren't great. I didn't feel like they were great last year. They're worse this year. It doesn't help that Chance Gamble has their best corner has missed a couple games. If Georgia Southern doesn't tackle well, it's going to be an ugly game. It got out of hand really, really quick. In Harrisonburg, be lots of purple streamers flying. I look for JMU to roll in this game. I think we skipped one, Luke. We need to go back to the Eastern Michigan.
Eastern Michigan.
Yeah,
my bad.
The battle of the directional Michigan schools, man. Eastern Michigan versus Central Michigan, 1 p.m. Saturday for some MACtion. This is what I'm looking forward to, just to watch Central Michigan. Like, I still don't have a real super good feel in terms of, like, are they really good or are they not really good? They just beating up on bad competition. Eastern Michigan is not a good team, not defensively anyway. So
this one, same reason as you, Central Michigan. I'm interested in this because you've got. Hey, I thought San Jose State was going to be great. They go and they win. Whoa, Central Michigan, okay, on the map. And then you got Michigan. You get trounced by Michigan. It's like, okay, kind of thought about that. And then I'm trying to remember which FCS school that they had, but then they
Wagner. I think it was Wagner.
Wagner.
I don't remember.
Yeah, Wagner. That's right. They did well, but like statistically, no one like popped off the page. I do feel like I know what Eastern Michigan is, and that's not great. Their offense is pretty explosive. They throw the ball a lot. Which San Jose State throws the ball a lot. So like I think they can stop them. Like you, I am interested to see. I think we find out what Central Michigan is in the battle of directional Michigan schools in our MACtion. Central Michigan favored by 5.5 point, over under set at 53.5.
Yeah. It'll be an interesting game. It's a battle of one team that's going to run the ball, plays pretty good defense, and another team that has no defense that's going to have to throw the ball a lot. It should be an entertaining game, if nothing else.
All right. Now let's move over to Arkansas State at Louisiana Monroe, 3 p.m. Eastern Sun Belt Conference game. UL Monroe favored by 2.5, 55.5 over under. I think give me the points in UL Monroe. You're at home. Arkansas State's offensive line hasn't been looking great. UL Monroe, I expect McReynolds to run a lot here, and I bet you Heath goes for over 100 and has a touchdown. Go ahead and clip that. I think he has a big game. Give me the points.
Yeah, if Arkansas State's going to get things turned around and do what they, what people maybe expected them to do in the Sun Belt West this year, they got to win this game, right? Like, they lose this game, it's done. Like, their Sun Belt West hopes are dashed if they're not already. But man, this is going to be a big game for Arkansas State in terms of, I think, what to expect moving forward. And then, UL Monroe, man, like, can they? I think the big question is, can they get bowl eligibility? They win this game, they're at 3 wins. They're halfway there. They were that way last year too. Were they like 5-1, I think, at one point, and then lost out. So yeah, should be a good Sun Belt West matchup. I think for me, I think I got to go with ULM to win it.
This one will be an interesting one. UConn at Buffalo, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Connecticut favored by 2.5 points on the road, 51.5 point over under. UConn's offense been playing well. Buffalo just hasn't been able to get it going lately. You got the obviously this Troy game, and then you had Kent State in back-to-back weeks, really struggling. And then is Roberson back? That will be a huge play.
Yeah.
With what I know today, I think I got to go UConn. I think this, like you just said, Skylar Bell, number 2 in the nation in receiving yards. This defense isn't living up to what I thought they would be this year, and Buffalo's been honestly just overall the last 2 weeks disappointing. But I think I gotta go with the points as of today, but that could shift by later in the week.
That line tells me that they think Roberson's going to play, because I feel like if we knew Roberson wasn't going to play, or we thought he wasn't going to play, that line would be even bigger for UConn. So I mean, I think for Buffalo to have a shot, Roberson's got to play. And the line's kind of showing me that's what Vegas expects. But if I gotta pick a winner, I'm going with UConn. I do think the Buffalo defense, they played really well against Troy, but those Troy quarterbacks are not good. So it's kind of
yeah. What do we say? Six sacks in the first half.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think it'll be an entertaining game, especially if Roberson plays. I think it'll be a good game, one that I will tune into. But if Roberson does not play, man, I don't think it'll be a great game. I think UConn would roll in that scenario. So pay attention to that line, because that might tell us what to expect in terms of Roberson's availability for the game.
All right, San Diego State at Northern Illinois, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. San Diego State favored by 2.5, over under set at 43.5. I honestly might take the under in this one because similar to UNLV traveling, San Diego State's going to be going to Illinois to be Central Time Zone, so that will be I think about a 3-hour difference. So maybe 2. But yeah, I think it's a 3-hour difference. So that I could see a slow start, but I anticipate that this defense for the Aztecs will be able to keep in check NIU Huskies, and I think San Jose State wins this one. Or I keep saying that San Diego State wins this one.
Yeah, I mean it's two teams that are mirror images of each other in terms of what they want to do, right? And I would say the San Diego State passing game is a little bit better, and that's probably the big differentiator in the game. But both teams run the ball, play solid defense. San Diego State, I think I agree with you. I think they get it done. I like their quarterback play, Jordan Napier, a difference maker on the offensive side of the things. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna if you're a fan of old school football, tune into this game, man, because it's gonna be defense and smash mouth, running the ball. Should make for a good, entertaining game.
Brett asked 10 a.m. kickoff. No, this one is at
3:30 p.m. Eastern.
Rice at Navy, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. This is an American Conference game. Navy favored by 14.5. Over under set at 45.5. Give me the over.
Man, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to watch these two offenses against each other. Navy. I feel like Navy, people talk about Blake Horvath not really having the year that maybe they would expect. But I feel like that's just because Navy's playing to win the American, and so they're not necessarily gonna they don't want Blake Horvath to get injured, and so they are using him as much as they need to make sure they win the games, and then calling off the dogs, so to speak, if you will, or use other players, Eli Heidenreich or Alex Texa. Alex Texa's been, a solid performer for them week in, week out, 80 yards and a touchdown. We'll talk about him later. But yeah, I think Navy wins this game. It's going to be interesting to kind of see what the Rice offense does against this Navy defense, a team that goes against a triple option offense, frequently. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what Rice can do and how far along they are in their evolution of the triple option offense. So for that reason, I think it'll be an interesting game. But yeah, I expect Navy to roll.
All right. Let's get to a little MACtion. 3:30 p.m. Eastern kickoff for Akron at Toledo. Toledo favored by 21.5. Over under set at 48.5. I ain't touching it.
No, I mean Toledo should win. They should roll, but man, which Tucker Gleason is going to show up? The Jekyll Gleason or the Hyde Gleason? I don't know. It's Toledo should roll. They got the better defense. They got the better weapons on offense. I mean, I just wonder if moving forward, and we saw it against Western Michigan. They just lean heavily on chip train them and try to take the ball out of Tucker Gleason's hand, which sucks because they got some talented receivers too. But man, Tucker Gleason not good.
All right, Tulane at Tulsa, 4 p.m. Eastern American Conference game. Tulane favored on the road, 14.5 points, 53.5 point over under. I'll be interested to see how this Tulsa offense looks against this Tulane defense. I expect Tulane to bounce back in terms of quarterback play. I think I would take them in the points. 14.5 is a large number, but I think they bounce back well. If I had to take something here, I think I would take Tulane in the points.
Yeah, I think probably the big thing I'm looking for is is Dominic Richardson, the running back for Tulsa, able to continue his dominance in the running game against a pretty good defense and good defensive line at Tulane. That's probably the one thing and do we see Kirk Francis? Is Kirk Francis back yet or not? But yeah, I agree with you. I think Tulane should win this matchup.
Now, here is a game that I'm interested in because I don't think we figure out really anything here. We've got New Mexico State at New Mexico, 4 p.m. Eastern kickoff. We've got New Mexico favored by 13.5 points, 45 point over under. New Mexico State has been blown out this year. They just got, Louisiana Tech, which is better than maybe we thought at the beginning of the year, but they get blown out. I can't remember what it was, 49-13 or some large number like that. And then New Mexico has been winning, and they win at UCLA, but UCLA is not that great. And they're they seem to just be I can't tell if they're playing up to their competition, down to their competition. I still New Mexico's defense been rock solid. I'm still trying to figure out what to make of this team. And honestly, New Mexico could win by 28, and it still doesn't tell me really anything about this team. So big rivalry game, but I expect New Mexico to win. But I'm still waiting another week to figure out what this New Mexico team really is. Yeah, and I think they jump up I think they win. The people who do the G5 rankings with us propel them, and I'm not willing to put them up there yet. And then we'll get this whole thing about why isn't New Mexico further up the board because of X, Y, or Z. And I just don't think we know what they are yet.
Yeah, and this is a rivalry game, man. I don't know, that seemed like a big spread for this game to me. 13.5 points. We talked about last week. It didn't necessarily come to fruition with Washington State and Oregon State. But I just feel in these rivalry games, so much, there's so much, extra that you can't account for. It makes, from a betting perspective, it makes me want to avoid the games. Definitely, I think it's going to be an entertaining game, fun game. I don't know when the last time like you could say like, hey, I'm looking forward to New Mexico State versus New Mexico. In this case, like I think like it's going to be a good game and something we should be looking forward to watch. So,
All right, we've got Hawaii at Air Force 4:10 p.m. Eastern kickoff. It's a Mountain West Conference game. Hawaii has to travel to Air Force. You got to play in the altitude. It's Air Force favored by 5.5 points. Over under set at 53.5 points. What I am interested to see in this game is how does Air Force run the ball against Hawaii? Hawaii's defense has been stout this year. I like Air Force in this one, but Boise State able to pass the ball pretty well and run the ball well. Maybe Alejado gets back on track this week. This could be a sneaky big shootout game.
yeah, I mean, I think I like Hawaii because I like the Hawaii defense, man. Like, I don't know, like I'm probably I feel like me and Luke are like the last people on the Micah Alejado ship, and the Hawaii offense ship. Most folks have bailed and swam for shore at this point. But man, like I don't know, like I just have too much trust and faith, I guess, in for it to work. Maybe at this point, like I shouldn't, but I don't know. Like I like Hawaii. If they can't get things going against this Air Force defense, then like I don't know if it's really gonna happen. Because Air Force defense, as we saw last week, very susceptible to a lot of big plays. So yeah, to your point, it could be a good shootout, but I think the differentiator for me is I think the Hawaii defense is pretty good, so I think Hawaii wins the game.
All right, Middle Tennessee at Kennesaw State, 6 p.m. Eastern kickoff, Conference USA game. In this one, Kennesaw State favored at home by 7.5 points, over under 51.5. Give me Kennesaw State in the points. I think this defense has been playing well. I think they found their quarterback for the future, and give me the hoot and shoot. The hoot and shoot. Yeah. Give it to me.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Middle Tennessee is not good. One of the worst teams in all of FBS, and Kennesaw State, handled Arkansas State pretty handily, and so I think they roll over the Blue Raiders.
All right, Liberty at Old Dominion, 6 p.m. Eastern. We've got ODU favored by 16.5. Over under set at 51.5. 16.5 is a large number, but I think ODU covers.
Well, it started off 9.5 when it opened up, and so what I think what that tells you is like Ethan Vasco's not playing, or people don't expect Ethan Vasco to play. I think in a depth chart today, he was listed on top of the depth chart with an with Michael Merdinger, but I think that's just shenanigans. I don't expect Ethan Vasco to play. Ethan Vasco's kind of been kryptonite to Old Dominion. Like, he's beat Old Dominion twice when he was at Coastal. He almost came to Old Dominion. He committed to Old Dominion out of high school. He's a local kid, from Chesapeake, Virginia. He committed to Old Dominion out of high school, and then at the last minute got a P4 offer to Kansas. So he spurned Old Dominion, went to Kansas, and then he goes to he doesn't play at Kansas, transfers to Coastal, comes and beats Old Dominion twice at Coastal, and so he's been a little bit of a kryptonite. I mean, Liberty in general, like Old Dominion hasn't played good ball against Liberty, and it's been a while. So I don't know. Like I'm looking forward to a beatdown of the Flames in Norfolk on Saturday night. Old Dominion's been getting a lot of hype recently in the national media. But hopefully you guys know where you heard it here first. We were the first and only guys to have them ranked in our top 25 to begin the season. Other folks have gotten on board rather quickly, but I mean, Old Dominion. I look for Old Dominion to roll. I like the thing I'm looking for, or I'm looking towards the most, is can Colton Joseph kind of keep it rolling? He, in my opinion, he played the best game I've seen him at Old Dominion in terms of passing the ball against Virginia Tech, and he was just dropping absolute dimes. And so I want to see that against Liberty, man. Like I want to see that every week moving out. If he can do those things, it's going to be a good season for Old Dominion. So that's kind of what I'm looking for in this game.
All right, let's move over to Memphis at Florida Atlantic, 7 p.m. Eastern kickoff, an American Conference game. Memphis favored by 13.5 points, over under set at 61.5. I think Memphis covers 13.5, a large number, but Florida Atlantic having a hard time on defense right now. I think Memphis runs the ball a whole bunch in this one. If you want to take the under,
has a big day.
Yeah, I think Smith has a big day on the ground. I think Lewis could have a big game. Cortez and them have really shown out this last 2 weeks, but I just don't think they need to throw the ball. I think they run the ball, do their handle business and get home and try to eat up clock, and maybe Sutton Smith sits later in this game because they're up by so much.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think a big game from Sutton Smith. I think Memphis covers the points. Florida Atlantic, and like they throw the ball a lot. Easton Messer has a ton of targets, but like he's not getting the yards. I just don't think they don't have enough on offense, and defense is not good for Florida Atlantic. So yeah, Memphis rolls.
All right, Jacksonville State at Southern Miss. Southern Miss favored by 4.5 points, over under set at 57.5. Kickoff at 7 p.m. Eastern.
I think this is going to be a better game than maybe people expect, man. Like, I think Jacksonville State's pretty good. I think so. I think it's two fairly evenly matched teams, man.
Yeah, I'm probably not. I'm staying away.
Yeah, from a betting perspective, I'd stay away. But I like this. I mean, unfortunately, I'm not going to see much, if any, of this game because I'll be at the Old Dominion game. But I think it's going to be a good game, entertaining game. Cam Cook has been tearing it up for Jacksonville State. Southern Miss can they get back on track? Are they going to go 0-2 versus Conference USA? Like that's not a good look for Southern Miss, but should be a fun, entertaining game. If I was able to watch it, I would. If you're sitting at home Saturday night looking for something to watch, I definitely would tune in.
All right, Western Kentucky at Missouri State, 7 p.m. Eastern kickoff for a Conference USA game. Will Western Kentucky get back on track? Missouri State been playing well. Is this a sneaky shootout game? We'll see. 60.5 over under says it will be a shootout. Western Kentucky favored by 4.5. They just haven't been playing well. Again, from a betting perspective, I'm just staying out on this and want to see what happens. I like
this could be a shootout though, man. This could be a high. It could be. I don't know that I wouldn't guarantee it's going to be, but it has the potential to be a lot of scoring in this game. Two potentially very good offenses, I should say. We haven't seen it a lot from Western Kentucky. Jacob Clark, like he's a good quarterback, man. Like I don't know. Could be a big win for Missouri State if they can knock off Western Kentucky.
Okay, now this next one is sad. It's sad. Washington State at Colorado State, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. In Colorado State, we talked about it. We're moving on from BFN. So that's, all right. Washington State, maybe we're close. No, Colorado State favored by 5.5 points with a backup quarterback. Like going in, like that tells you the state that Washington State is in right now. Over under set at 51.5.
I'd be tempted to take the under.
Yeah,
But I like this has ugly game written all over it.
yeah, this one will be ugly. I will not be one of my top games I'll be watching in this time slot. The one game I am very curious in what it is App State at Boise State. We get a night game, 7:30 p.m. kickoff. Boise favored by 16.5. Over under set at 60.5. Give me App State in the points. So that's a very large number for a Boise State team that hasn't been playing well. And I don't think we talked about it at all. But in that Boise State game, there was a scare by Maddox. He went out, I think, in the second series.
Yeah, I talked about it. I talked about it a little bit in the injury news that but Spencer Danielson said he expects him to be a full go versus App State.
And then Brett also asking the status on games.
I talked about that too during when I talked in the injury news. So last week, Sire Gaines did not practice until Thursday, and that's why he was limited against Air Force. But Spencer Danielson today said he's a full go, and he should be fully practicing in a full go against App State this week.
So, and App State's been passing the ball. The other thing I'm interested about App State is AJ Swan been playing well. Then he has 3 interceptions inside the 5-yard line. Yeah. And he gets pulled, but I think he was also maybe dealing with a little something. They get a bye week. I anticipate that AJ Swan gets the start again, but maybe his leash is a little bit shorter. But I look for this could be a blow up game too. But I think I'd rather take App State in the points because 16.5 is a large number.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as AJ Swan's not turning the ball over 3 times in the red zone, I think App State can beat that spread.
All right, Marshall at Louisiana, 8 p.m. Eastern Sun Belt Conference game. Louisiana favored by 2.5. Over under set at 47.5. Woof. Another game that won't be on the top of my priority list.
Two bad teams, man. I think Marshall has a shot. I mean, if I had to pick, that's probably who I'm going to pick would be Marshall. But man, like two bad teams, ugly game, not something like high on my priority list to watch.
All right, and then Louisiana Tech at UTEP, 9 p.m. Eastern Conference USA game. Louisiana Tech favored by 4.5. Over under set at 48.5. Give me Louisiana Tech in the points. This defense on fire.
Yeah, this shocks me. Like I would have thought Louisiana Tech would have been favored by like 7.5, something like that. So yeah, I agree with you. Louisiana Tech. Give me Louisiana Tech in the points. Again, I've said it numerous times. Previous weeks, I've said it numerous times tonight. Probably the best defense in Conference USA, one of the best in the G5. And so, yeah, they get it done against UTEP.
Right. Let's move on to our 2020 players through 4 weeks. We've got our quarterbacks. Caden Hauser at number 1. Jalen Kitna at 2, Nick Minicucci at 3, AJ Swan at 4, Caden Veltkamp at 5, Braylon Braxton at 6, Maverick MacGyver at 7, Drew Mestamaker making his debut at 8, Joe Fagano at 9, Malachi Nelson popping into the list at number 10, Logan Fife at 11, Maddox Madsen at 12, Malik Murphy down to 13, Noah Kim at 14, and Walker Eget at 15, like you talked earlier. Like Walker Eget's getting the passes, he's getting the yards. It just doesn't look like visually appeasing. That's why he's down here. Caden Hauser leading this group with 314 yards passing per game, but Veltkamp is throwing the most times, 46 attempts per game. MacGyver and Mestamaker each have 10 passing touchdowns to lead this group. Rushing attempts, Braylon Braxton, no surprise there, being used the most with about 9 attempts per game, followed by Logan Fife with 6. So that, again, will make this New Mexico State game fun to watch. The guy who's thrown the ball down the field the most of this group is Walker Eget, followed by Malachi Nelson, who's thrown the ball 10 yards down the field. But then when you look at what the offensive line is giving you, what's probably the most amazing is I said how Kaiten Hauser was leading in passing yards. He's got the least amount of time to throw of this group with only 2.05 seconds. Braylon Braxton's leading this group in big-time throws with 12, while Kitten Veltkamp is leading the group in turnover-worthy plays with 11, which kind of makes sense with how FAU's been playing. He's got 6 big-time throw versus 11 turnover-worthy throws. And then pressures per game, just kind of what that offensive line is allowing, is Logan Fife is being pressured the most. Also, Maverick MacGyver being with 12. Technically, Logan Fife is at 12.3 and MacGyver's at 12.2. But yeah, that is our quarterbacks.
So Brett's asking about Bryson Barnes. So he's not on here because they're not throwing the ball enough to make this list. But not necessarily to Brett's point, but when I see Walker Eget on this list, it makes me think, man, like, should we reconsider how we do these lists for quarterbacks, man? Because, like, I don't know. I think people think like it means it's the top 20 quarterbacks, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's the top 20 quarterbacks in terms of like just in general. It's the top 20 quarterbacks in terms of their top 20 in both passing attempts and passing yards. That doesn't necessarily encompass everything that's important about a quarterback.
Because what's crazy about this is like, because the reason that we started this is because it's like, oh, who are quarterbacks to really like hone in on and watch what's going on, because you can throw the whole ball a whole bunch, but if you're not getting any yards, then that's counterproductive. And if you're getting a lot of yards but you're not throwing a lot, well, then that's not sustainable. Brett asks, hey, let's add some rushing into it. That's where I get into that ranking of 1 to 15, is that's when I look at the rushing yards. Like, all right, what else is setting you apart from everyone else here? And it seems like right at that Joe Fagano, Drew Mestamaker line is like everybody under that's kind of the same in that kind of tier.
And I don't know. I don't know. Like, we're not going to change it, I think, mid-season, but I feel like in the off-season, maybe this is something we can look at and evaluate what, how, all that kind of stuff in terms of like who the actual best quarterback is. Because like when I see Walker Eget in here, it makes me vomit a little bit in my mouth because he should not be on any top list of anything as a quarterback. But anyway, I digress. We'll evaluate it in the offseason.
All right, let's move over to the rushing aspect of things in our tops. We've got Robert Henry coming in at number 1, Cam Cook at number 2, Rashad Dominion at App State number 3, Cam Edwards at UConn number 4, Chip Trainum at Toledo number 5, Dominique Richardson, Tulsa number 6, Sutton Smith at Memphis number 7, Lincoln Pear at Texas State number 8, Kewan Owens, FIU at number 9, Kentrell Bullock, South Alabama at 10. Coming in at number 11, LJ Henderson, friend of the podcast at Buffalo, and then Alex Tex at Navy coming in at 12. Robert Henry averaging 178 yards per game, Cam Cook 146 yards per game, and Rashad Dominion 141 per game. Kentrell Bullock on this list is the first person you get to who's averaging under 100 points or 100 yards per game with 97, Al-J at 96, and Alex at 93. Obviously, they all get it in different ways. Chip Trainum averaging 18 touches, but that 115 yards per game. Not a lot of utilization in the pass game. Al-J is leading this group with 3, but for the most part, everyone's getting like 1 reception a game, so there's not a lot going on in the receiving yards. Al-J with the most receptions per game with 3, it has the most yards, which that kind of makes sense. And Robert Henry, obviously with his big breakups that he's been having, is getting 23 yards per game. He leads this group with 7 touchdowns, but everyone else is kind of in that 4 or 5 yard area. Rashad Dominion probably looks like he could really bump up, as he has the least amount with 2, and he's still so high up there. Dominic Richardson also with only 2. Cam Cook, a little jitterbug, 33 forced missed tackles on the year. And then Alex Texa, Sutton Smith, Chip Trainum, Cam Edwards. They're not really making a lot of guys miss. Sutton Smith with the least, with only 6 missed tackles forced. No surprise, but Robert Henry leads this group in yards after contact per attempt with 5.66. And then Lincoln Pear is Alex Texa with 4.47 next, and then Lincoln Pear with 4.05. Moving over to the receiving.
Let's say real quick before we get there, Brett mentioned Sam Harris at Wyoming. He's been a bright spot. Maybe he will make by at some point this year he'll make our 2020 guys. But he's been a bright spot at running back for Wyoming. His bright spot on offense for him this year. Be interested to kind of see how he develops and how he does moving forward for a freshman.
All right. Wide receivers. We've got Danny Scudero, San Jose State at number 1, Skylar Bell at number 2 from UConn, Jaden Barnes, App State at number 3, Chase Hendricks, Ohio, number 4, Bo Sparks, Texas State at number 5, Devin Vosa, South Alabama at number 6, Dalton Stroman, App State's second wide receiver, coming in at number 7, Easton Messer, FAU, coming in at 8, Jaquan Gibson, UMass at 9, Corey Milner, UAB at number 10, Ted Hurst, Georgia State at number 11, Kenny Odom, number 12, UTEP, and Jordan Napier, San Diego State at number 13.
Brett's happy. Jordan Napier finally made the list.
He
finally
did it.
Made the top 20 in both. It was an uphill battle because of his stats week 1, but he did it here in after week 4. Pretty remarkable. That just tells you how well he's done the last couple weeks.
Always a week ahead of me. I like to see it a little bit. It's Cade Harris, it's Jordan Napier. Call it foreshadowing. In here, Danny Scudero leading this group with 12 targets per game. Technically 12.3. Skylar Bell at 12 on the nose of this group. Easton Messer leading. Easton Messer has 13 targets per game. Then it'd be Danny Scudero, then Skylar Bell, but Easton Messer is 12 has 9 receptions per game, followed by Skylar Bell, then followed by Jaquan Gibson, and then Danny Scudero. Danny Scudero averaging 128 yards per game, which ranks best in the G5. Easton Messer and all of those targets and all of those receptions, 16th best in yards. So not doing a whole bunch with those, and he's got a 4.1 yards after catch per reception. ADOT, Skylar Bell being used pretty close to the line of scrimmage at 7.8 yards, but even closer is Easton Messer at 7.4. The guy being used down the field the most and producing well is Dalton Stroman, 15.5, and while Jaden Barnes is at an 8. I really like this duo to App State. That's why I'm really excited for this game against Boise. Danny Scudero, Dalton Stroman, Easton Messer, all with only one. Jordan Napier with 1 touchdown. Jaquan Gibson with 0 touchdowns. Bo Sparks leading the way with 5 touchdowns.
He had 4 of them in one game, right? The first game,
yes.
I think.
Yeah. Let's move on over to our tight ends. We've got Dorian Thomas, New Mexico at number 1, Isaiah Cummings, App State number 2, Eli Finley, Louisiana Tech at 3, Gavin Harris, New Mexico State at 4, and Joshua Long, Eastern Michigan at number 5. It's Dorian Thomas and Isaiah Cummings at the top in terms of targets per game. You've got 8 for Thomas, Cummings getting 6, Gavin Harris at 5, Joshua Long at 5, and then Eli at 4. But then when it comes to the yards, Eli Finley's leading the G5 tight ends with 58 yards per game, followed by Isaiah Cummings with 57, followed by Dorian Thomas with 56. And then you've got Gavin Harris at 49 and Joshua Long at 37. Isaiah Cummings has 0 touchdowns, but one of those AJ Swan touchdown or interceptions was targeted to Isaiah Cummings, so he hasn't been getting the touchdowns. We'll talk about Eli Finley a little bit later, but Joshua Long with 2 touchdowns and Dorian Thomas with a couple touchdowns, really propelling this group. And I guess I might be dating myself, but where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? It will be what I'll use for Jackson Warren. Had that big week 1, nothing against North Colorado, and then a bye week, and then he's injured. So once he comes back, I can't wait to see what Jackson Warren does.
And we get a matchup of 2 of the top tight ends with Harris and Dorian Thomas this week. So interesting to see who wins that battle between those 2. Brett's asking about next year if we can factor in a running back's receiving production. That's already factored in for running backs, Brett. It's total touches, so it's not just rushing attempts. It's rushing attempts and receptions, and it is total yards for running back. So, yeah, what a running back does, rushing and receiving, is already factored into the 2020 guys. All right, let's move over to the guys, the big guys up front, man. The offensive linemen. Look at our top centers. This is a proprietary rating that actually got an update this week. I did some tweaking. I looked at some things. I came up with a formula in the off season that I had been using through the first 3 weeks, and then I reevaluated again and needed some tweaking. And so the scores you're gonna hear, the ratings you're gonna hear, are gonna be a little bit higher than what you've heard previously. Previously, we've been like the highs have been like between 65 and 67. Tonight, you'll see some high 70s and a couple 80s. So I did a little tweaking to the formula. Feel a little bit better about it now. But anyway, nonetheless, let's get to the centers. Number 1 is Brock Riker, Texas State, a rating of 79.3. He has a negative play rate of 0.36. Number 2, Anthony Boswell, Toledo, 78.7 rating. He's allowed 1 pressure and 257 snaps. Number 3, Aitor Urian Barrenechea from Colorado State, 78.5 rating. Has a pressure per snap percent of 1.8. Number 4, Jacob Spomer, Fresno State, 78.3 rating. A negative play rate of 1.72. And rounding out the top 5 is Reed Williams for UNLV, 77.6 rating. He's allowed 2 pressures and 277 snaps. Moving over to the guards, number 1, we got Jay Mickle from Louisiana Monroe. He has our highest rating of G5 offensive lineman. He comes in at 81.6. He has a negative play rate of 1.74. Number 2, Tyler Doty, Buffalo, 81.1 rating. He's allowed 1 pressure and 244 snaps. Number 3, Shadre Hurst, Tulane, an 80.9 rating, has a pressure per snap percentage of 2.4. Number 4, Julian Palindo, Fresno State, 80.74 rating. He's allowed 0 pressures and 224 snaps. And rounding out our top 5 in guards is Jonathan Dennis, Louisiana Tech, 80.7 rating. He has a negative play rate of 0. So 0 negative plays on the season for Jonathan Dennis. Super impressive. And as you know, might have noticed, all the guards were ranked or had a rating of 80 or above. All right, now we're going to move over to the offensive tackles. The number 1 offensive tackle is Cage Casey from Boise State. He has a rating of 80.5. He has a negative play rate of 2.6%. Number 2 is Nick Del Grande, Coastal Carolina, a rating of 80.4. He has a negative play rate of 0.76. Number 3, Aaron Karras, Colorado State, 79.3 rating. He's allowed 4 pressures and 215 snaps. Number 4 is Ben Morawski from Connecticut, rating of 79, a pressure per snap rate of 4%. And rounding out the top 5 is someone that I actually got to interview back in December of last year when he was being recruited by and considering coming to Old Dominion. Unfortunately, he didn't come to Old Dominion. He ended up going to North Texas. But that's Jimto Obedegwu, a 78.9 rating. He has a negative play rate of 0. Really impressive when you see these negative play rates of 0. That means these guys, aren't don't have penalties and other bad plays against them. So super impressive when you see these offensive linemen with a negative play rate of 0. All right, that rounds out the offense. Let's move over to the defensive side of the balls. For defensive ends / edges, we look at the havoc rate. Basically, quarterback hits, quarterback pressures, quarterback hurries, stops on 3rd and 4th down. Basically, things that cause negative plays for the offense. Number 1 is Dylan LaBarbera from Nevada, havoc rate of 22.1%. He has 26 pressures on the year. That's 1st in the G5. Number 2 is Keyshawn James, Newbie, New Mexico, 18.9% havoc rate with a impressive rush win rate of 22.8%. Number 3 is Isaac Terrell, Washington State, 17.4% havoc rate. He has 3 tackles for loss on the season. Number 4, Jamon Tapp, Southern Miss, a havoc rate of 16.9%. He has 4 sacks on the year, which is good for number 2 in the G5. And then rounding out the top 5 is Jamal Thompson Jr. from New Mexico State, havoc rate of 16.8%. And he has an impressive 14 stops on 3rd or 4th down for the New Mexico State defense. Moving over to defensive tackles, number 1 this week in havoc rate is Landon Robinson from Navy, havoc rate of 18%. He leads the G5 in sacks with 5. Number 2 is DeMonte Smith, Middle Tennessee, havoc rate of 17.1%, 14 pressures on the year. Number 3, Ezra Christensen, New Mexico State, havoc rate of 15% with a rush win rate of 10.3% on the interior. Number 4, making his debut on our 2020 guys, Dejon Benton, Hawaii, havoc rate of 13% with 12 stops on the year. And then also making his debut at number 5, Travion Mitchell, South Florida, 12.4% havoc rate. And he has an impressive rush win rate of 12.5%, which from the interior is pretty impressive. All right. Looks like I messed up a slide. So I'll just talk about it. Linebackers, tackles per game. Number 1, we got Owen Long, Colorado State, averaging 13 tackles per game, 17 stops on the year on 3rd and 4th down. Number 2, we got Ray Coney, Tulsa, 12.8 tackles per game. He has 8 pressures on the year. Number 3 is Jackson Eck, New Mexico, 12.3 tackles per game with a missed tackle rate of 14%. Number 4 is we got 2 guys tied at number 4. Andon Thomas, Army, 11 tackles per game, solo tackle rate of 88%, and making his debut this season. Last year, he ended up number 2 on linebackers. He makes his debut. He's tied for number 4 this week. That's Red Murdoch from Buffalo. 11 tackles per game. He's got 2 sacks on the year.
Friend of the podcast, Red Murdoch.
That's right. Let's move over to the cornerbacks. Cornerbacks is adjusted net yards per coverage snap. It's basically taking, what happens when they are targeted and subtracting the good things they do, whether it be interceptions or pass defenses. Number 1 this week for cornerbacks, Nazir Ward, Western Kentucky, negative 0.5 adjusted net yards against, with a quarterback rating against of 6.3. Number 2, Devon Armstead, North Texas, negative 0.36 adjusted net yards against. He has 1 interception and 1 pass breakup on the year. Number 3 is Kamari Terrell, Texas State, negative 0.11 adjusted net yards against, with a quarterback rating against of 22.4. Number 4, Elijah Green from Tulsa, negative 0.03 adjusted net yards against. He's also a top tackler for the cornerbacks with 2.5 tackles per game. Number 5, Jaden Dennis, Memphis, negative 0.08 adjusted net yards against, with a quarterback rating against of 15.8. Moving over to the safeties, number 1 is Jakari Foster, Louisiana Tech, negative 0.9 adjusted net yards against per coverage snap, with a quarterback rating against of 0. Number 2, again, say it every week, a guy I expect to be drafted come April, Emmanuel McNeil Warren, Toledo, negative 0.66 adjusted net yards against per coverage snap. He gets it done in the run game too, averaging 4.25 tackles per game. Number 3, Tyler Brown, James Madison, negative 0.65 adjusted net yards against, with a quarterback rating against of 0. And also at number 4, Jalen Lewis, Western Kentucky, just was Luke's player of the week this week for the defense, negative 0.532 adjusted net yards against. He has 2 interceptions on the year. And rounding out our top 5 is Jerome Carter, Old Dominion, negative 0.527 adjusted net yards against. And he's also a top tackler, getting 6 tackles per game for the Monarchs. And that's going to do it for our 2020 guys after week 4. Quick note, next week, Luke will be doing the show solo. There won't be any 2020 guys on the show. I'm out of town, so we're gonna try to tweak the graphics out, but there won't be any 2020 guys on the show next week.
All right, now you've made it this far. You're here for the long haul. You're playing some college fantasy football. The waiver wire honey after week 4 from the G5 Hive. Let's start at quarterback. Liam Sarka, 0% owned. They've got Hawaii this week. He didn't get the start, but came in early in the second quarter against Boise State. He went 13 of 18 for 248 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had 20 attempts for 111 yards and 1 touchdown on the ground. I didn't bother looking into it, but 248 is probably a very high number for a Air Force quarterback in throwing the ball. In the week prior, he had 3 touchdowns on the ground versus Utah State. Like I said, Hawaii in week 5 against G5 opponents, they've been stout, but against Sam Houston and Fresno State, really struggled. But this is more of I have a faith in the system. Again, Hawaii coming to Air Force, I think, should help them out. The next guy, we talked about Kennesaw State earlier. Amari Odom versus Middle Tennessee is a guy I have circled. 0% owned. There's been a quarterback battle, and in week 3 against Merrimack, it was Dexter Williams who got this, got some time in there, but Odom got the start. He went in for 2 drives, and then Williams had 2 drives, and then Odom came in for the third quarter, and then Dexter got the first drive of the fourth, and then they went back to Odom. In Odom's first game as a starter against Arkansas State, he went 12 of 14 for 108 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 6 rushing attempts for 22 yards, and a touchdown on the that was against Merrimack. He had 12 of 14, 108, and 1. Then when he got the start at Arkansas State, he was 25 of 34 for 308 yards passing. He had 1 touchdown. He had 16 rush attempts. He had 101 yards on the ground and a touchdown. That was good for in 6-point passing touchdown leagues. That was good for 30.42 points. I think Kennesaw State has found its quarterback of the future. I think Amari Odom is a great play against Middle Tennessee. They just allowed Carlos Del Rio Wilson to throw for 261 and 4 and had a touchdown on the ground for 42.64 points. Give me Odom in his second start. And then my third guy here, Nick Minicucci. He's on a bye week, but he's QB 10 in Fantrax, scoring overall number 11. He's scoring 29.5 points per game. This team belongs in the FBS. They have Western Kentucky in week 6, but then just CUSA play throughout the year. And if you want to look way down the line, they've got Sam Houston in the championship game. Maybe a guy to stash. He's a 2020 guy. He's tied for 3rd in the G5 with 8 touchdowns. A guy, if you want to get prepared a week in advance, Nick Minicucci, still widely available.
All right, my 3 guys. I got Brendan Lewis at 24% from Memphis. He put up 32 points versus Arkansas this past week. Dual threat quarterback, had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns rushing this past week, 4 rushing touchdowns in 4 games, averaging 70-plus rushing yards a week. And they play Florida Atlantic this week. So look for Brendan Lewis to have another good week. He's probably not going to be be eligible for this list. He'll probably go over the threshold here soon. Another guy that's probably, that's really close, Braylon Braxton, 29% owned, Southern Miss, averaging 21.5 points. He hasn't had a big week yet. He's pretty much, 19 to 21 every week, it feels like. He is a dual threat. They got Jacksonville State this week. Look to see Southern Miss kind of rely on him more moving forward. And then to round out my quarterbacks, you got Jacob Clark, 7% Missouri State, 19.7 points averaging. Obviously, in your 6-point touchdown, he's going to be averaging more, probably more attractive there. He's had 2 games of 30-plus points, but he's had really bad games too. Those are both against P4 opponents, 7 and 3 points. He's moving into the Conference USA schedule, so that should be good for Jacob Clark. Plays Western Kentucky this week in what has potential to be a shootout. Moving over to the running backs. First guy for me is Alex Texa, 14% owned. Number 1 running back for Navy. I talked about him last week. Triple option offense. We talked about, he's getting you 80 yards and a touchdown every week. He's probably not a high ceiling guy, but he's a great floor guy. He's got 4 touchdowns in 3 games. They play Rice this week. My next waiver wire addition is Dominic Richardson, 22% owned. Workhorse back for Tulsa. Super impressed for him in that game against Oklahoma State. 31 carries and 146 yards in that game, averaging 16.5 points per game. They have Tulane this week. And then rounding out my waiver wire picks at running back, Dante McMillan, Eastern Michigan, 6% owned, double-digit points each week. Attempts has increased each week. He's gone from 9 to 19 this last week versus Louisiana, 126 yards this past week. He's getting 3 to 4 targets a week as well in the passing game. And they have MAC and state rival Central Michigan this week. Luke, what you got for running backs?
Honestly, I was question for you, Justice. When it came to running backs, it just feels like it's drying up. It's harder and harder to find these running backs. I like all the other positions. So I got a little
creative
here.
I thought about it too. But yeah.
But Dylan Riley, 9% owned. They've got App State this week. Again, I think they're going to use more of a rotation. But he had Sire Gaines had limited touches this last week. Right now, because of that huge 5-touchdown game, Dylan Riley sitting at RB 15. Again, against Air Force, he had 66% of the carries. And so if Sire Gaines can't go, he's definitely can take a large amount of those carries. The week prior against Eastern Washington, he had 6 rushes for 123 yards and a touchdowns, while Gaines had 14 for 98 and a touchdown. So you can tell that Boise State wants to use Gaines as their main back, and Gaines is just going to dictate how much usage Riley gets. Sherrod kind of seems to have a spot carved out on his own, but I think Riley has some standalone value. But yeah, give me Riley as 1. Number 2, Braylon McReynolds, 7% owned. They've got Arkansas State. Earlier when we were doing game breakdowns, I said, hey, give me McReynolds for over 100 and a touchdown in this game. That's how confident I feel. He's pacing the backfield for touches. He had 18 against UTEP. The next closest was Zach Palmer-Smith with 6. Leads the team in rush attempts versus Alabama and St. Francis. It's just, you got St. Francis, you've got Alabama, you've got UTEP. UTEP was that first game that you could really see what they wanted to do. But like I said, in all those 3 games, he's leading the backfield in those touches. And much like the competition they'll face, ULM is more similar to Arkansas State than the rest. And we just saw Kennesaw State run for 199 and 3 on the ground. Obviously, quarterback play scored or had 101 of those yards. Aiden Armenta, not a guy who's going to run for over 100 yards. So I think he's going to be happy to hand the ball off. And like I said, I see 100 yards and a touchdown in the cards for McReynolds in week 5. And this is where I get creative. Gabriel Benyard, if we're going to like this Kennesaw State passing game, and we're going to like Amari Odom, a guy that we have to look at is Gabriel Benyard, 12% owned against Middle Tennessee. He's got wide receiver and running back eligibility. He's seeing 6 targets per game over the last 4 games, but in a full game with Odom, he had 6 receptions on 7 targets for 114 yards and a touchdown, good for 23.4 points. And then he did that against Arkansas State, but Middle Tennessee allowed 5 receptions and 116 yards and a touchdown, or 22.6 points to Marshall's DeMarcus Lacey. And then to Nevada's Jordan Brown, they allowed 5 receptions for 58 yards, good for 10.8 points. If you need double digits, I think Benyard's certainly a week 5 option that you can slide into the running back position. All right. Wide receivers. My first guy here is Dalton Stroman, 23% owned, going up against Boise State. He's a 2020 guy like we talked about earlier. He's key to this App State offense. He moves all around. He's constantly in motion. He's kind of reminds me of Cooper Kupp and how he was utilized with the Rams, of being in motion, doing a lot of horizontal before going vertical. He ranks 6th in the G5 in yards per game with 98, and 18th in the G5 in targets per game with 8. He only has 1 touchdown through 3 games, but outputs of 16.8, 21.1, and 10.5 points. Boise just allowed Air Force to throw for 248 yards in week 4. Cade Harris had 8 for 179. Look for Stroman to get his in week 5. And we talked about it earlier, Brett, foreshadowing. Jordan Napier makes the list here. Last 2 outings against Washington State and Cal, he saw 12 and 10 targets respectively. He turned those opportunities into 7 and 9 receptions for 69 and 154 yards. He's also a 2020 guy who's 13th in the G5 in targets per game with 9, and 18th in the G5 in yards per game with 78. Again, only 1 touchdowns, but he's been laying low, and a breakout could be coming this week. My final wide receiver is Cortez Braham from Nevada to Memphis. Back-to-back weeks where we've seen Cortez usage increase. Week 3, he had 4 receptions on 6 targets for 69 yards, good for 10.9 points versus Troy. Week 4 against Arkansas, he had his blow-up game, 7 receptions on 11 targets for 102 and 1, good for 23.2 points. Like I said, it's like riding a bike, as Braham and Lewis, who were both teammates at Nevada. FAU has allowed 5 receptions, 81 yards to Anderson, McGarry Anderson. And only concern is that FAU is so bad on the ground that Memphis just may not need to throw the ball. So that would be my only concern there. Justice, what do you have for wide receivers?
All right, I got Jaquan Gibson, 19% owned from UMass, 13 targets a week. They are a bad team, as we said. They're always behind. The negative for Jaquan, no touchdowns on the year. Definitely a bigger play for PPR leagues. They do play Missouri this week. Not a great matchup. But, yeah. This number 2 guy I really like, Najee Cox, 3% owned, Middle Tennessee, 10, 7, 8, and 11 targets. Again, another bad team, always behind, got to throw the ball. He's had 20-plus points twice, double digits every week, 4 touchdowns in 4 games. They get Kennesaw State this week. And then my number 3 guy, Camden Brown, 8% owned, Georgia Southern. He's a P4 transfer down. He was at Auburn. Josh Dallas is banged up. Camden Brown has asserted himself as that number 1 option on the outside. 18.3 points per game in a PPR league, 5 to 8 targets a week, has 5 touchdowns in 4 games, and he has JMU this week. They're going to have to rely heavily on Camden Brown if they're going to compete with the Dukes in week 5. All right, moving over to tight ends. My number 1 guy, Eli Finley, 3% owned, Louisiana Tech. Big week this week, 6 catches for 155 yards. Points wise, 21.5 this week, 5.8, 9.9. Focal point of the passing offense for Louisiana Tech. Look for that to continue against UTEP this week. Number 2 guy, Gavin Harris, 0% owned. New Mexico State, 8 targets, 5 targets, 4 targets, 12, 8, and 7 points. One of our 2020 guys and tight end, just like Eli Finley, and they have New Mexico this week. I like both of those tight ends if they're available in your leagues. Luke, who you got for tight ends?
All right, Isaiah Cummings, App State tight end. He's averaging 5 receptions on 6 targets through 3 games. He's 57 yards per game, is second in the G5, 1 yard behind Eli Finley. Follow the usage and the opportunity. Cummings is a solid tight end option here in week 5, 3% owned. And then for the final pick here, Joshua Long, Eastern Michigan, 1% owned through 4 games. He has yet to give you less than 30 yards. He currently ranks 5th in the G5 in targets per game with 5 and 9th in the G5 in yards per game with 37. His average depth of target, or ADOT, of 9, coupled with Kim's throwing it 34 times a game, gives you hope that if you're looking for a tight end this week, that he is a floor guy. His floor is like 2 for 30. Against San Jose State, you had Danny Scudero in the slot. Pitt, you had Raphael Williams Jr. in the slot. And then Michigan, you had Hogan Hansen there working at tight end. Scudero, 9 for 189 and a touchdown. Raphael Williams, 6 for 121 and 2 touchdowns. And then Hogan Hansen, 3 for 43 and nothing. Again, I like the chances there for Joshua Long, a guy I didn't talk about in the wide receivers, but maybe Porter Rooks there at Eastern Michigan eats in the slot.
That's it. We made it. We're done. It was a long one. I got to run. My wife's ready to go to bed. But tune in next week. Luke will be solo next week. I'm out of town, but if you're still with us, thank you. If you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like and subscribe button. On X, give us a like, a follow, a retweet. If you're listening on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, or Spotify, please subscribe and leave those 5-star ratings and reviews. So grateful for everyone's support. Thanks for hanging in there with us each and every week. Be sure to join us next week as Luke will go over what happened in week 5, and we look forward to what's coming in week 6 and bring you up to date as always, on the latest news and happenings in the world of G5 college football. And until the next time, we are the G5 Hive.